Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Christian Albert, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nodrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
He already admits that he needs an elevation angle for his challenge. I mean, Professor Phil it goes the same direction. They don't even realize that once they evoke GPs, lines of longitude and latitude, they're already mentioning flat Earth. They don't even realize that's how bad it is.
I know this is how stupid they are. That's why I said to him, show me evidence of an elevation angle being obtained from a curved base. They can't show you that. It's impossible. I said, and I'll give you 10k if you can do that. Now he's on about getting a contract written out to go to court.
But even if it's not a curved line, what they have is a straight line to a straight line. A horizontal line is a straight line. So you have a straight line to the horizon. That's it. It doesn't curve.
Yeah, they don't have a straight line to the horizon, do they?
Sorry, mate.
They don't have a straight line to the horizon. We debunked that in 2020. That's the geometric horizon. So if they've got a tangent point, aka straight line to the horizon, then that's the geometric horizon, the one they tell us we can't see.
Absolutely.
That's game over.
We need to stop giving them the horizon, Nathan, because they're not describing or talking about the horizon. They're specifically talking about their stupid Earth curve.
Yeah, nobody's expecting to see the geometric horizon, though.
Correct. We need to cut that off immediately. As soon as they say horizon, we should just cut them off and say, you're not talking about a horizon. You're talking about a physical hump.
Yeah, they're talking about Earth curve, a physical geometric limitation to your view.
Correct.
With a straight line to
So
it.
when they say horizon, you should just cut them off right there at the legs and say, no, you're not describing a visual optical effect. You're talking about a hump.
Yeah, hump we debunked in 2020 that's moving around. Hills don't do that. They haven't got a straight line to it. They told us the reason it's moving around is because we haven't got a straight line to it. So now they want to tell us about a correction with a straight line or a straight line to a tangent point. Yeah, they haven't got that. So as soon as they say, oh, well, of course we can get this straight line. No, you can't.
I love the rubber duck argument. So now that they're doing the rubber duck, what are you going to correct for?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sound okay today?
Yeah, sounds fine.
All right.
How about me? Mic check.
Yeah, you sound fine. Neil, too.
The horizon in celestial navigation is used as a reference point for horizontal. It's assumed level. That's why the instrument corrections, the index correction for the arm that moves along the protractor scale on the sextant is something that has to be done as a check before you use it, because, you know, if it falls, it could change. So there's adjustment screws. Then there's the horizon mirror adjustment screws. And that's very important because that's going to allow for perpendicular to exist. So once you get the horizon mirror and you have the sextant, and if you could imagine moving the sextant from side to side, you're trying to get vertical. And that's when you take the lower limb of the sun or whatever luminary, and you bring it to the tip of the horizon. So in your mind, follow what I'm trying to say here. So you got a horizontal, the horizon level. You got the sextant going back and forth until you can say pretty much vertical, because you're on the boat, you're moving. So you have to do your best to get it vertical. And then you say mark. And that's when you take your readings, your time in seconds, and your angle. So what is the purpose of all that? The purpose of it is using the horizon as a reference for flat, and your sextant being upright for vertical. And so the only thing different that's left to do from the celestial or the bubble sextant, where you get a horizontal based on the bubble, that gives you that flat horizontal similar to the Earth's horizon, is dip correction. And what is dip correction? Height of eye above sea level, because you got to correct for that depression angle. Just a description of how sextant works at sea destroys the globe model.
Agreed.
Great work with the section descriptions.
Yeah, it is.
Repeat.
It's so simple when you sort of put these things together and realize what's actually happening. It's like Nathan asked the other day about in Discord of how are people getting on using the elevation angle in discussion and debate. And I'd been at it for a couple of hours in chat today, and I've found it so easy. I've had that Ruhif on, Professor Phil, Protothad, and I was quite confident with them three. And I had him in a corner, just sticking to basic, what we talk about here. So, it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic, the knowledge. And it's down to you guys. So thanks, everybody.
In fact, let me just read this. The third adjustment consists of making the horizon mirror parallel to the index glass when the vernier is set at 0. To do this, clamp the vernier on 0, hold the sextant vertically, and look at the horizon through the telescope ring. If the true and reflected images of the horizon form a continuous straight line, the horizon mirror is parallel to the index mirror. If the true image and the reflected image do not form a continuous straight line, the horizon mirror should be adjusted by means of screws attached to it. It's got to be to the plane of the instrument. So you're looking at the actual horizon and then the mirror, and that's got to be continuous. It can't be one horizon below the other. So all these corrections are to make the reference of the horizon your horizontal, because it is, there's no curving.
Yeah,
Well, they're
that's
gonna
what's
struggle.
magic. That's what's magic about the marine sextant. Yeah, you're utilising the ocean and the sea for your level baseline, and it's fucking great.
Exactly. You're pointing it at the horizon.
Yeah. Let me just read the second adjustment. The second adjustment consists of making the horizon mirror perpendicular to the plane of the instrument. To do this, hold the sextant vertically, bring the reflected horizon in line with the true horizon. Then incline the sextant until the plane makes a small angle with the horizon. If the true image and reflected image form a continuous line, the horizon glass is perpendicular to the plane of the sextant. If they do not, the horizon mirror should be adjusted by means of screws attached to it. So the whole point of waggling the sextant from left to right is to find that vertical to where you call out mark, and you're already using assumed flat plane. The horizon is the reference point for that. It's so simple.
Beautiful.
Well said.
Nice to be getting lots of compliments from you guys in this regard, because it's obvious that you're going out there, well, because you're telling us, and using the arguments to great effect. Well, that's wonderful to hear.
Thank you guys for the ammunition.
Yeah, thank you for firing it.
10, did you say that it's so simple?
Yes, even a child can understand it. Vertical and horizontal, perpendicular.
My 12-year-old basically understood it when I explained it to him. I showed him, I did a picture of, I did Nathan's thing, the ball with the L on it, and I started explaining it to him, and he gets it.
That's where the problem lies, isn't it? They are using a language, words that don't understand the meaning of it, like angle, circle, sphere. Yeah, they use these words, but they can't define them. Because once that they do, things like elevation angle as well, triangulation, all of these things, once that they are defined, it's game over.
They know, though. They know exactly what it's doing. They know the Earth is flat. They know this. They're just not. They're not letting it go. The globe. That's what they're doing, and they're coming up with anything they can, no matter how bizarre or ridiculous it sounds. They know how this sextant works and elevation angles and what we're doing. They do know, but they're not letting it go. They do know, but see a poem coming out of that one.
You think they know? I think they're being stubborn. I think they still believe it's a ball. I do.
It all depends what he means is they. Is it the they that knows that is mixing the language on purpose and showing diagrams of circles underneath tangent planes to make you think that math actually works this way? Or is the people that fall for the circle drawing under the tangent plane and just can't work it out in their mind that you can't get an angle from a curved adjacent or baseline?
Oh, start picking on the tangent.
Let's say Rufy and Rumpus. Do you think? I think they still think they're on a sphere in their warped way of thinking.
Well, there are crazy people in the world. They may fall into that category, Neil.
No, they're in denial that they're not on a sphere.
Well, what is a sextant? A sextant is a glorified protractor, correct? Now, how does a protractor work on a sphere? Can someone explain to me?
It doesn't.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
You have to cut it in
tell you.
half. But cutting it in
There
half.
you go.
Go on then, Tent.
No. I was going to say the same thing, but go on. You got it.
No, you go.
Okay. Well, you got to cut it into two hemispheres, and all the angle measurements are in the nautical almanac from the equatorial plane, the disk, which is the real Earth. The Earth is flat.
That's not working on a sphere. You're cutting it in half.
No, you're missing the point.
That's not working on the surface.
I got your point.
Sphere.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, Neil. Yeah, it's not working from the surface of the sphere or from the sphere. It's working if you cut the sphere and make it flat and take your measurements from a plane.
Nobody does that. That's cheating, first of all.
No,
that's just trying to make something work. And that's ridiculous.
They do it. I'll show you a picture.
No, I know. I believe you. I know. I remember when you first brought it out, I was like, oh my God.
Well, I was trying to figure out where do you get an angle from if you can't get it from a curved surface. And then every book I bought says, well, we don't measure it from the surface. We measure it from the cut in half circle and get it from a flat plane. Oh, so that's what's actually happening at the surface. We live on a flat plane.
Yeah, the tool can't work on a curve. We know that. And every drawing they show is using a flat baseline. Might have a dingleberry dangling underneath, like, but that's just irrelevant.
But elevation is not from the center of the Earth, is it?
They've got a curve baseline.
And this is what they claim, elevation from the center of the Earth. If you're doing these measurements from the center of the Earth.
But you're not doing a measurement from the center of Earth. You're standing on the surface of Earth. And according to them, that surface isn't a baseline to be used because it's curved. And if they're trying to say that they establish a tangent point to a geometric horizon, and that's the straight line that they use and start the process with to correct from, then they're going to need a geometric horizon to correct from. And they've spent 2 years telling us that they can't see it. So that is not the horizon that they're pointing the sextant at, because they can't see that. It's on screen now. Andrew Thomas Young's explanation for how you've got a bent line to the point we call the horizon on a globe. Well, that's not Earth curve blocking things into the distance, it's not got geometry, and it's not going to have straight line correction from a sextant. This second point at H hasn't got a straight line to it, and that's what they've spent 2 years telling us their line to the horizon is. So that's not going to be used for a correction. That's not going to be used to acquire a plane. That's not going to be used for an elevation angle. And that's what their horizon is now. Now, this was buried in the rumpus's jargon when we were debating Isle of Man for him, so it's not like it's new. And the die-hard ones that you say, I think they know they're on a globe. Really, why are they digging out explanations that explain that the Isle of Man isn't blocking boats and buildings? The horizon isn't blocking the Isle of Man and boats and buildings. Well, it's because they want to work out how they can get around people pointing out that the sphere-Earth horizon isn't Earth curve, that we haven't got one. Now, our opponents have spent 2 years doing that for us. That's why this document from Andrew Thomas Young is even in existence or in at the surface for us to see, rather than buried in the notes of Rumpus's PDF. Well, it's now on the surface, so we all know and we're all well aware that they all say it's refracted. Well, that's not our problem. It's a very real problem if you're trying to explain how you'll get a straight line to a geometric horizon exactly as explained in their books, when it references, which is rare, the globe. So if it's referencing a globe, it's referencing a straight line, because it's all about angles, and they haven't got one anymore. That's the end of the argument. They told us for 2 straight years how they haven't got one. So when they're like, well, the book says I just draw a straight line to the horizon. Yeah, but you told us that you haven't got one. So that's your problem now, isn't it?
Yeah, whichever way they turn and whatever they do, they need a flat baseline. Simple as that.
Well, I mean, it's redundant, but we live on a flat plane, and the measurements are being done, and the angles are being received from the surface of this flat plane. And what they want to do is they want to superimpose that as it's coming from the center, because they want to make everyone think they lived on the ball. So you can put anything under that plane and cut it in half to create a similar plane and say, this is where we're getting it from. And that's all they did. It's all dingleberry, and below is nothing. It doesn't exist. It's just in the imagination.
Can't get around flat.
Well, they need it.
Yeah, the celestial sphere is a flat Earth model.
Yeah, I gave him a small taste of celestial navigation last night.
How did it go?
Sorry, you had a small taste of celestial navigation, did you just say?
No, I gave the audience that I was talking to last night a small taste of celestial navigation. I had to pick and choose what points were most pertinent, because there was quite a few people on the panel. Basically, same numbers would be here, but I was the flat earther representing, you know.
When you gave it the small taste, was it shaken or stirred?
I was going to go for a taste gag.
It was.
I knew you were going somewhere with that, Nathan.
Yeah, but I had read them. What was it? The Royal Air Force Society article, and I had also read the one with the 3 stars, and they used those for 3 equal circles of equal altitude that have
That's
to
all
be
of them.
parallel.
That's triangulation.
So, you know, those 2 things were what I brought up on celestial navigation, and the fact that they use the Mercator projection for all navigation, and that's using a Cartesian coordinate system with a horizontal axis. So it went really good, actually. I felt really good about it. A couple of people called me afterwards. They watched the whole 5 hours.
What was this on, my friend? Was you standing in front of a live audience talking, or was it an online
Yeah,
sort of
well,
forum?
not standing. I was on. We were on a live stream, Killer Priest podcast. So he calls it Podcraft.
Oh, yeah, he's getting into it a bit, Killer. I seen a clip with him a while ago with Santos Bonacci, and he was touching on the flat Earth with him a little bit, and he was he's into a few things like that, and yeah.
Eli, were they new to it? Have they heard it before? It was all brand new to them.
No, this is the one I was trying to get Chocolate on with me. Vinny, when first the guy that DJs there or does handles like all of the graphics and the stuff that go on the screen and the live and everything, the stuff that Nathan does. He was the first flat earther, and then I guess he had one day called this guy named Vinny, who then got in touch with all the other flat earthers that would then come on the show, which is Dave Weiss and B. Marble, Witsit, and a number of other people. I got the opportunity to go as the lone flat earther last night, and I represented FED. So
Very cool.
Nice one.
not only that, I was able. They dropped all of the links in the description, so our link is in that description as well as 24/7 Discord, and I mentioned Use a couple of times. So
No, I'm saying, were they new to the argument or they heard it before? This is the
Neil,
first time they were hearing it?
Neil, what
Yeah.
did I say?
I can't hear. I'm going in and out.
Dave, yes, it's not new. No.
Okay.
But it's fairly new. It's like because when they have them, because you asked it and I answered it. And
Oh, your cross purposes here. Neil was going in and out. He didn't hear it, so he asked it again. Now he's mad because.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, they had heard it before. Dave Weiss was on. Witsit was on. Quite a few people. D. Marvel was on. A few people were on. So, I just stuck to the lack of the geometric
We catch
horizon
up
and how that was
catch up and have a-
fundamentally important.
Can we re-listen to that anyway?
Yeah, I posted it in the Master B. I could post it in Discord too right now. Hold on. Level Up was around Levelist. Oh, Levelist. Oh, that's somebody totally different now that I'm realizing it. Thought that was Level Up, but I thought it was weird when there was one remark that was like full of curses, and I was like, no way. I know they said she curses, but this can't be.
Level Up is Paula.
Right. This person was Levelist. So at the time, I got them mixed up, but I'm realizing now that it's not the same.
The reference that's being used for celestial navigation is the horizon or horizontal reference. The equatorial, the ecliptic, or any other one they want to throw in there is just the bastardization where they take the horizontal reference system and just put it in the middle of a sphere when they cut it in half, or put it outside of the sphere. It doesn't matter. The only one that works is the horizon, the horizontal, and it's the observed horizon as the reference plane.
Or it was before they bent that line. for the globus.
What? Well, again, that's fictitious. That's my point. The point is the one that works is the one that is, and everything else is bastardized or bent or fictitious. It's not real. It's just saying, well, if it works here, we can make it work here if we superimpose it there. Well, we're not into superimposing into fictitiousness.
Yeah, but the step one was if it works, i.e. we can measure it. Well, that means you've proven a flat Earth, step one. What? But then you can superimpose it onto a sphere, like jiggery pokery with the coordinate system. Oh, that's nice. Meanwhile, you've got the angle from a plane.
Yeah, so the truth is first, then the lies follow.
Right. And then when it comes to navigation, they want to do it in a way that you're not going to die. So they do it the way it works, which is off a flat plane.
Exactly.
Yep, they jump in the gun, skipping past angles, and now they've ended up in the big sextant tangle.
Certainly have. But I'm all for it. It's very quiet when they don't have any response. Even with Black Swan, they came in to bark refraction at us. The reason they're so quiet is because, as I've just said earlier, they've spent 2 years telling us it's all refracted, it's not a straight line to the horizon. It's bent, refracted. That's why the hill's not in the way, because the hill that we see is not the geometric straight line to it hill that Earth curve was. It's a refracted line to the horizon, obviously. 2 years they came in telling us that. Now we get to this argument, okay? So we're needing to get an angle. That means there's 2 straight lines involved. You've only got one. Unlucky. What are you going to do now? Well, this is what they're going to do now. Nothing. Because they haven't got anything to do. They can't respond to this argument. They have to concede a flat Earth first.
It is a great feeling, and I'm feeling quite peaceful with it all at the moment.
I'm at one with this. I agree. Yeah, I've said it on many shows now that didn't feel like there was a silver flat Earth bullet, and now I think this is it. It's something that shuts them up permanently, because what they're going to do in rebuttal is tell me how Earth's flat. Well, I don't want to do that. They're anti-flat Earth, so conceding this argument is incredibly painful for them. Too painful to come and join and tell us how Earth's flat and concede it. So far, we've had 2-3 people do it. Protothad, Zanuck. Who was the other one? There was a third one. But there's been a couple of them, and it's highly embarrassing to say, yeah, we're gonna need the flat Earth first, or words to that effect. No one wants to do that from their side.
You just hung up on it, Nathan.
The proto fallacy.
Did you sell bullet?
You what, Neil?
Did you say
Yes,
no,
he
I
said silver
absolutely
bullet.
did not. I would never say such a thing.
He said it's the silver bullet.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon,
you
guys.
like you had a silver bullet already?
Hey, Adam.
All right, Ted.
Black Swan's
Right,
a
it's
globe killer.
posted, Nathan. I've just got back from the printers in the post office. So it's gone to Jason in Devon. So it should be there at Speaker's Corner for Sunday at the start.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Now, I got a bit of a deal on.
Bit of a deal.
Bit of a deal, like a bit of a deal, me. I'm wondering if you fancied a bit of a bribe. I've got a second copy.
Bribery for what?
Well, I'm about to tell you. If you turn up to Birmingham to collect it for the tour.
Where in Birmingham?
Can I ask Adam at what time Sunday and the Speaker's Corner, please?
So you want me to go and get this banner? Hold on.
No idea. Probably lunchtime is tend to when they carry on from, isn't it? I'm not sure the details on it, but there'll be shows this week, and I'll try and do an announcement tomorrow. But yeah, the Birmingham date, is that what we were just?
What do you want me to do? Exactly. Go and get a banner for you.
Just turn up.
Oh.
And collect the banner off me. I'm gonna
collect it off you for what?
You got a second one. You got a second one. He wants to give it to you.
10th. Sorry, for what? What do I need it for?
Oh, it's your banner. So I got 2 printed.
I've got a banner. Okay, I don't know what I'll do with it.
Put it behind you.
When am I going to be somewhere to have it behind me?
I don't know. I thought the best thing was he did me 2 for a ton, so I thought, well, that's a bargain.
Just take both of them on the tour. Just have 2 of them on the tour.
No, save it.
No,
I'll get this one back.
Absolutely not. Use it. Don't be crazy, nuts. Open both banners, because then you've got a stage between the 2 banners. That's what you need. You need 2. Minimum 2.
Too late. I've posted 1.
Oh. I see.
Well, you'll have to put it on the other side in Birmingham. No, but it was more me asking you out for a date. I don't know if you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I should be just being grateful rather than saying do this, do that, the other. Thank you.
You're all right, mate.
Why don't you use it as a sound diffuser right behind you when you can broadcast your show?
I don't know what I'll do with it. But yeah, I think it would be useful.
I'll get that one back, you see. So and then if it's ever needed to go anywhere, then there's 2 sources to not rent it out, but loan it out, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, but Adam, it's like the guy's drink.
I would just 1 sec. I would just say use it immediately though. Like as soon as if it is genuinely on its way, winging its way to me, yeah, I'll take it to wherever it's going to be useful as soon as possible.
No, I've posted 1 to Jason in Devon, so he'll get that tomorrow, and then that'll go for the start of the tour from Speaker's Corner on Sunday onwards. But I've got the other one, which I'll drop off with you if you meet up on, saying Friday the 15th or another day, or next time we meet up, really. So,
okay, I see. So they're both out doing service anyway.
One's out in the post and will be doing service from the beginning of the tour. The other one's the spare one, which I will give to you, but it's sat next to me right now.
I see.
Adam, this is taking too long.
Oh, you've got it. Can we hold on? 10th, please. Please. I'm trying to talk to Adam about this every time. You've interrupted 3 times. Got 2 minutes before the live show starts, 10th. I just want to get this wrapped up. Okay, so you want me to just be there at Speaker's Corner, basically, though? That's what you kind of asking.
No, that's too far to your travel. I thought there's a couple of dates that appeal to you. This Thursday and Friday, the Gloucester Day and the Birmingham Day, which is next Thursday and next Friday.
But you've got it with you now, so we can see it, right?
Oh, you can see it now, yeah.
Can we have a look? Can you? Is it in a box? In other words, will it?
No, it's in a roll. Look, what I'll do, start the show. By the time I start the show, I'll come back on my camera phone, and then I'll have it rolled out on the grass.
Awesome. So we'll get to see it.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I don't have to do anything.
Nice.
Isn't this difficult to give you a birthday gift on your birthday?
Yeah. Whose birthday is it?
Yeah, it was a difficult way of giving somebody something that 10th, wasn't it? Yeah. Right, I'll lock up. I'll see you in the show.
The gift is it being out with people looking at it.
Let's see, like you said, he's got a different intention for getting a 2-for-1 deal. He wanted to give you one as a collector's item, and you were saying, well, it's better used over here by putting it on either side of the stage. You both were using it for different reasons. He just wanted to give it to you.
I get it now. I should just be grateful and say thank you.
You already have. That's not point. What you could do, thinking about it, is post it onto 10th for use over there.
Yeah, 10th. When you're out on Speaker's Corner, you can promote Flyers Debate.
That's fine. I will never refuse a second pint during a football match.
Mm-hmm. No, but you're out doing stuff at the churches and stuff, aren't you? You stick that outside.
Oh, not yet, but I will be.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, welcome, one and all. Good to have you all. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth, before it was bent in 2020?
Like the way you said that. No evidence whatsoever of curvature on this stationary plane that we live on.
Hey, Sleepy Warrior.
Yeah, that's a reification fallacy.
Hey.
Any evidence?
Shout out to Boris Johnson.
Shout out to Boris Johnson.
Shout out retracted.
He's a genius. He's
Excuse me. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
Any evidence of a prime minister in England at the minute?
I
We've
don't
got a
care.
prime minister. That's the genius.
Have you got this from the telly and the papers and the normie world that you obviously inhabit, both of you?
The talkie
He's
box.
stepping down, isn't he? Because he realises that everybody hates him.
We care about this because...
Now you're going to need art for that.
You're going to need R for Boris.
I hate current events. I hate current affairs. I hate politics. I hate all of this nonsense.
No axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
Distance to the sun. I'm not talking about the newspaper that told Anthony about whatever's going on with Boris.
What is the sun?
Well, if you don't have the sun, then you're left with the Daily Globe.
It's banned in Liverpool.
Oh, why? You can't buy the sun in Liverpool.
You just have to pay a man.
Well, you've got to go out the city. You've got to go far enough away from proximity of it because, like, no one supplies it. You can get it in, like, districts that are, like, I don't know, St Helens or Newtonley Willows, but once you get towards Liverpool, it's not even in the shops.
You're going to need the radius value first, and before you get that, you need flat Earth measurements. So no distances.
What about any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is it?
Yeah, they can't even define what gravity is, so how can they have scientific evidence of something that none of them know what it actually is?
We know what it is.
Well, I don't know. Last time I checked, when fish die, they float. They don't sink to the bottom of the ocean. So I don't know what they're talking about.
That depends. It depends on how much poo they've got inside them, surely, because like as that poo gets more heavy, as they got full bellies.
It's been here 5 minutes. We're talking about poo.
Well, it started off with Boris. Now we're at poo.
Yep. Where's it going?
Let's get back to Boris. Any evidence of a prime minister?
About any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, astrology, or astrophysics?
No, but I love you for saying that.
The tarot cards.
Tarot card? What the hell? Did you say tarot card?
Yeah, that's what I said. The tarot, yeah.
No. I don't know where to begin with that.
Well, actually, a deck of cards, 52 cards.
I know what tarot
52
is.
weeks in the year. 13 cards in the deck. For decks.
Am I the only person that continuously mistakes or misspeaks when I say, like, astronomy over astrology? I know the difference, but I really have to think about which word I say before I say it, and I always get it wrong, and it infuriates people. But the reality is, like, what's the difference between astronomy and astrology anyway?
Astrology is the logic of the stars, the patterns of the stars. Now, the current incarnation and Western world understanding of what astrology is the stars that you get in the paper in the sun, where you've got Mystic Meg telling you that you'll meet a tall, dark stranger or you'll be financially successful. That's what people think astrology is. In reality, it's just the logging of the motions of the stars. That's all it is. Now, astronomy is just the naming of shit. Excuse my language. See that? That's a black hole. See that? That's a quasar. That's astronomy.
But what's the difference in our context, in our corner of the internet? What's the difference? Because neither of them are science.
I just told you 25 seconds ago. In our context, the difference is one is benign, although very useful, because in the current discussion, we're talking about the astral navigation method that needs to have tracked the stars in terms of where they're going to be based on their pattern. Now, knowing that pattern means you know where the star's going to be above at a given location, hence you need an almanac. But that is based on astrologic, i.e. the logic of the stars, as opposed to what I just explained a second ago, pointing at something and giving it a name.
Let me give it a try. Anthony, you're going to like this. Nathan, you're not. You're not. The one of the stars used for navigation, astronomy, the one where the stars affect the affairs of men, like Boris not being in office today, astrology.
Now, what the hell are you doing? Just completely undermined everything I said.
I just had to have fun.
I still don't see any significant difference.
Anthony, I made it simple for you. You still don't get it.
I know, but in our context, I don't see how the difference that you've described makes any difference whatsoever to how we use those two words in our context.
I've just explained, because we're arguing currently about the navigation of the ground that we're standing on based on the knowledge of the position of the stars based on their movements. That's astrology at its heart. That's what gives you the almanac, not astronomy, where astronomy gives you stories about the lights in the sky. For example, the pillars of creation, right? You remember that Hubble image with the tall plumes that are all beautifully coloured by an artist? Well, that's what astronomy gives you.
They conjure up the 3D medium.
Hold on, Jorge. Go ahead, Owen.
Yeah, so what astronomers do is they turn that 2D map of the stars and make it into a 3D virtual realm in which they conjure up stories about the sightings and how incredibly large it all is. That's what they do.
I've got to disagree with you. I don't think they do the first part that you described. The second part, yeah. But the first part where you say they turn it into a 3D realm, no, they don't. They convert from the celestial sphere model. Again, very much akin to what we're talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't labour this point. I'm not just being pedantic because it's you, Anthony. But yeah, I don't think so. I think what you'd actually more accurately describe is them using a flat plane and getting a coordinate system over that flat plane to work in time by knowledge of the logic of the stars, and then transposing or superimposing that onto a spherical system. But you still need angles to make it work, so it doesn't really work that well. But ultimately speaking, they're not... what was the word you used? Projecting it into a 3D model? Is that how you phrased it? I wouldn't say that's correct.
Nathan, I think you got it backwards.
Well, but the lights are just lights. They can observe them, but the whole point about astronomy is that they conjure up what it is, what it's supposed to be, and that is in the 3D realm.
What's going on with 10th Man today? So
Nathan,
10th Man just wants to be argumentative, it seems. Yes, I understand that there's a Western world description, which I've got on screen now, just because 10th Man's presented it. I don't mind sticking it up. Feel free, 10th.
No.
Go on, make your point.
Yeah, no, you made the point, but you just said it backwards.
No, I
astronomy is a... Well, hang on, you can listen to the show. At least I thought I heard you say it backwards. What is the difference between astronomy and astrology? Astronomy is a science that studies everything outside of the Earth's atmosphere, such as planets, stars, asteroids, galaxies, and the properties and relationships of those celestial bodies. Astronomers base their studies on research observation. Astrology, on the other hand, is the belief that the positioning of the stars and planets affect the way events occur on Earth.
That's just
There's an easier way to do it.
Okay, that's the colloquial.
Keep that on the screen.
Hold on. I gave a disclaimer. I did include when I said that the current Western worldview of what astrology is the idea that you'll meet a tall, dark stranger. Well, in reality, its origins are just the logic of the stars. Now, further to that, if Slick James Johnson was still amongst us, I don't mean he's dead, by the way, then he would take this to mean observe and declare, because that's precisely what it is. Astronomers base their studies on research and observation. Research, what? Searching for stuff again, looking again, and observation. Okay, well that sounds kind of like the same thing, but nevertheless, observe and declare. Yeah, and they talk about the relationships in planets. Well, they typically talk about things like the magnetic fields and the cause of the lights in the sky when presupposing that they're rocks based on their astronomy description of them as rocks. But that's not the logic of the stars. And again, how the planets affect you, well, it might affect whether or not you're getting home tonight if you're using them based on their logic and where they'll be above at that particular time when you look at them.
Do we still have that thing on screen? Yeah.
Yes.
So the housekeeping question to do with astronomy and astrology or whatever it was. What's the housekeeping question, Nathan?
Maybe Adam would like to say it.
Anybody?
The question typically is any single viable hypotheses from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. Astrology doesn't get a mention. Now it's ambiguous in the description on screen. I understand that, but it isn't necessarily that pertinent to the lies of heliocentrism.
No, but that's saying that astronomy is a science, Nathan. So if it's science, it must have a hypothesis.
No, because all they've got is observations and descriptions. Research and observations, all their work's based on, not validation of hypotheses. That's actual
No, Nathan,
science.
you're just denying the source material there. It clearly says astronomy is a science, and therefore there must be a hypothesis somewhere.
So if I find you a source that says baking is a science, you'll accept that baking is a science because it says it in a paragraph.
Well,
right?
There's a definite cause and effect relationship. Have you ever tried making a cake?
There's no natural phenomena of cake, unfortunately, though, is there?
And those are all man-made components.
Well, there's more. On the one side, you can say that there's a reaction occurring. There's a phenomena to observe in terms of there's something happening when you talk about bakery. However, there's no naturally observed phenomena. It's the other way around with astronomy in the respect that they've got plenty of natural phenomena that they could describe, but describing it isn't establishing the cause of it through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis.
I'm just pointing out to the audience that you're very hypocritical because when you present an evidence that supports your citation, you expect flat ball earthers to accept it. But when I come on and present something that says in before your eyes, astronomy is a science, you dismiss it.
Well, I could get you to define science, but I already know you're just playing baller for the sake of it.
Science is anything that I want it to be, Nathan. If I want it to suit my arguments, I define it accordingly.
Okay, well that means
you could just present the viable hypothesis. So.
Well, he already said a couple. He doesn't accept that science would be defined as the establishment of an effect or the cause of an effect by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. He doesn't accept that. He said, I accept it to be anything I want it to be when lending credence to my statements and claims. He didn't say that. Paraphrasing a little bit, tiny bit.
No, I'll just change the definition to suit my delusion at the time. I just want to point out to the audience the hypocrisy and how you cherry pick when you see a citation that clearly says that astronomy is a science, and you just dismiss it.
No, we don't dismiss it. We ask for viable hypotheses from those fields, and have done for quite a long time.
But we all know that science has got a valid hypothesis, otherwise it wouldn't be science, Nathan.
Well, what is
I'm
it
still
then?
waiting for Dr. Becky to respond.
Okay, so let's see what comes after that very sentence. The astronomy science studies everything outside the Earth's sphere-shaped air. So in the first statement, it's saying that it's a study of things outside an oxymoron. We don't have sphere-shaped air. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere, so this is the study of things outside of sphere-shaped air, outside of a second law of thermodynamics violation study. That's what it encompasses.
Just go outside, Nathan. Atmosphere.
Unless
Mark
Anthony
Taylor?
wants to answer the housekeeping question. Give us the hypothesis. Just one.
Yeah, just
I
one
haven't got a
viable hypothesis.
I haven't got a hypothesis, but I have got a citation that says it's science, and that's good enough for me.
Like, why is
Give
good
us your
enough for you that
hypopotamus now.
hypothesis? What did you say? What was that? Hippopotamus.
Yes, give us your hippopotamus right now.
Give us your hippopotamus.
I haven't got one.
Did Baldwin quantum leap into Sleeping Warrior? What happened here?
He was hoping that the next leap would be the leap home. Shout out to Godzilla37 for the super chat. Says, sorry I'm late. Just got back from Georgia. I was testing some. Oh, it's gone beyond my. It's gone beyond my desk. He says he's got a big enough screen to cover everything. He's lying. I'll start that again. Shout out to Godzilla37. I'm sorry I'm late. Just got back from Georgia. I was testing some gravity with some large rocks and explosives. What'd I miss? You didn't do anything scientific, I take it, Godzilla, because that's where we're at currently. We're asking for scientific evidence of gravity.
I think Nathan's missed the news.
He's probably talking about the Georgia Guidestones that are no more.
I think Nathan's missed the news, Nathan. Are you not familiar with what he's referencing?
Sorry, I didn't know that Boris Johnson's been kidnapped, and I didn't know that the Georgia Guidestones have been beamed up to the Enterprise. No, I don't know any of this stuff. I don't have a TV. I don't listen to the radio. I don't look at the newspapers. Don't care about any. Not
so you don't
Chocolate.
listen to the Flat Earth Early Bird Show either, Nathan?
Chocolate.
Today, no.
Educate the man.
I talked about it today, both subjects.
Today I didn't listen to your show, no. I was swimming with my daughters, or teaching them to swim.
Fair enough.
Chocolate, educate the man, for he is ignorant.
Yeah, supposedly somebody took out the Georgia Guidestones.
Well, just the top line of it, where it says keep world population below 500 million, is it, or whatever it says?
Right, when you say took out, I mean, was it like in that game I'm playing recently? Did someone get a rocket launcher? And I mean, what do you mean took them out?
I think you blew it up with dynamite.
Yeah, dynamite or plastic explosives, probably.
Oh, okay, so someone.
We should be able to see like even who did it. They just left it out.
Okay, by way of a bomb, someone fashioned a bomb and put it at the bottom of the Georgia Guidestones, blowing them to smithereens.
Top. He only blew up the top part of it. Like all the others were left as for them in like a square shape, and he only blew up the top part of one of them, left all the others intact.
So the idiot that did this thought the best place to put the explosives was on top of the Georgia Guidestones to blow them up.
I think it was probably the guy that actually built it. They bulldozed the thing like a couple of hours later. Like this is like an insurance scam
took
thing.
down, claiming for safety, quote unquote. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I would hope so. If it's been subject to some sort of explosive blast, I would hope that they would immediately demolish them to stop any risk to harm. Obviously you want to keep the population high and all that. Anyway, shout out to Fibre Oats. No more guidance then. If they were guide stones, so were they guiding you, Fibre Oats? Maybe they were.
Well, no more holes staring at Polaris, forever. So there's that.
I don't think they did that at Georgia Guidestones, did they? Wasn't that in the thing in northern France, or was it the Georgia Guidestones?
No, that's the Georgia Guidestones, bro.
I thought it was
Georgia. Last time I saw
Nathan,
Georgia.
No single viable hypothesis, Nathan.
Last time I saw the Stones was Mac's live stream, and the guy's dead now. Died during the COVID thing. Remember Mac?
Yeah, he had a heart attack on the throne like Elvis, apparently.
Died on the crapper.
Mac?
Oh, you mean Flat Earth Foker?
Yes.
Mac?
Flat Earth Fucker.
Right.
Or Fucker, or however you should say
He
it.
had a heart attack
F-double-O.
he had a heart attack on the throne having a shit, apparently.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. It was pinned on COVID, but that was he actually died of a heart attack, but the story was COVID.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
True.
I don't know if it's
viable
true.
hypothesis,
You say it's true.
Nathan.
I haven't researched it. I don't take any of that to be true. Anybody watching?
Tough man to get to it. Hey, can I shout out my boy Eli?
What's up? What's up?
What a homie.
Chilling, man. Chilling, man.
Chocolate, tell the audience why you're shouting out Eli. Go ahead.
Because my boy Eli was on the Killer Priest podcast yesterday, representing, doing his thing.
What's the name of the podcast? You're a bit muffled. Can you just say it nice and slow and clear?
And link us up in Master B.
I did.
You want to do that, Eli? Go ahead, brother.
So while we're getting this admin sorted, hopefully someone will post this in the live stream chat if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 right now live. Hopefully we'll get a link to this, but we were discussing in the pre-show, or more realistically, Eli was telling us about his success out there with the elevation angle argument. So that's why he's getting props from Chocolate, and we'll get a link to you. I still didn't catch the name of the podcast fully.
I think I posted the right link in chat.
Of course, Arwin will talk when I want a really clear rendition of the name of the podcast to help the person who's put this on.
The Killer Priest podcast.
Killer Priest?
Yes.
That's a bit of a contradiction in terms, is it not?
Well, no.
No? Do priests generally take up assassinations? I don't really follow.
Yeah, war priests do, like Jesuits. Yeah.
Jesuit priests? Yeah, fair enough. That was a good example.
I just want to draw.
Knights of Malta, more
Yeah, no,
specifically.
good example. I said it straight away. I gave you props immediately.
I just want to draw attention that the Georgia Guidestones, excuse me, got blown up, and Chocolate lives in Georgia, but I don't want to go beyond that.
I don't want to put two and two together either, but, you know, we might as well leave that hanging out there.
Shout out to Godzilla.
I need to deny.
Chocolate's
We will not miss your super chats again, sir.
Chocolate's deeply offended.
I said everything that Flat Earthers touch gets deleted. Isn't that true?
Eli, I've just gone to that show. Arwin's posted it for the chat there. It's cool. 5 hours 11 long. Is there a timestamp you could head us towards?
All of it.
We're all up and through there, man. Yeah, all up and through there. I talked a good amount, and so the things that were very key for me to mention was, you know, the fact that the claim has to be and is that there's a geometric horizon, and it's a consequence of the dimensions that they've given us. That's very important for people to understand, because when they say, oh, it's bigger, it's this, it's that, it's really, they have an idea of what they live on. They have an image of what they live on, but they haven't tied that to any real metrics or any real or any aspect of the so-called model. So that's what I was doing. I was showing them, hey, look at this claim. It's this 1 minute, 38 second video on YouTube about the distance to the horizon. And the guy explains how far the horizon is based on the formula. How do we know? Because I took them to the Google and I said, see, everything he said is right here because this is what's informing him. Now this is the claim. Is it true? I don't know. We'll see. Then I took him to the CFI investigators and I said, look at that boat. It's funny because he was saying at the time he didn't want me to stop talking because I was on fire and it was all clicking. And I was like, no, Killer, look. Look where the horizon is. And he's like, oh. And it's like, that was definitely something that I wanted them to walk away with. I also, where I could, made sure to illustrate the difference between the scientific method and pseudoscience. And I also went over the housekeeping questions. And I got a link dropped in the chat, so if you go to the description, we're there.
I'll post it up to date in Skype because I, for some reason, cannot click the link that Arwin posted. Thank you for posting it in the chat. Hopefully, if you're watching, you can just click that link. But for some reason, I can't. It just sends my web page into saying, "Oops, something went wrong." I'm like, oh, okay. Hopefully, it's a working.
But shout out to Killer Priest, man. He's an excellent host and an excellent moderator, and I appreciate him having that podcast, and Vinny B, who invited me on there in the first place. There was this guy named Tazadek that was there. He was definitely good to listen to. There's a lot of people out there that talk about law, and they're on that front. Some of y'all knows what I'm talking about, so y'all should check out Tazadek. And get with me on, like, I guess, how to contact him. I think he had some links. They're probably right there in the description, but it's a good listen. You should, if you got time, you're working out, whatever, you should listen to it. It was a good conversation. It wasn't like, it wasn't impossible because there was like anti-flat earthers just refuting everything like grass is green and etc.
Do my own free will, but if I get a civil right, it should really be called a civil privilege. That's something that's granted to me by a higher authority. That means government gave it to me. So if they could give something to me, they could also take it away. If you're still referring to yourself as an NBC, Negro, Black, Colored, or African American, so you really don't have rights. You have civil privileges, right? Because
okay, so it's KILLAH if you're listening rather than watching this. Priest. That's the name of the YouTube channel, so check it out. I'll listen to that later. Awesome. Thanks.
That was good. That was a good clip too. That was Tazadak doing his thing right there. He was about to get in. Okay.
So they got the comparison, right? The claims that the globe makes don't match up with the R value. And then all the claims the globe makes, if they had an R value, they saw the difference, right? That it's all a joke. Yay, nay?
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to go back to the live, see what the comments were.
No, from you.
Well, yeah, I went through all of that.
Right, but did you get the feeling that the globe makes claims of R? If that's off, then all the claims based on R are not true. Did that get across?
Well, I said it.
Okay.
There wasn't any contention or anything. Everybody was, listening, and that's what they said. They're like, we haven't heard this information before. Like, and I'm like, that's why I'm here. Same thing with the other guy. The stuff he was saying, it was a lot of information that a lot of people haven't heard before. So that's why Killer Priest is a good host, because he makes sure that he moderates in a way that everybody can get their point across for everybody to digest, because we're all supposed to be building.
Was that a jab at me?
No. What? No. Of course not.
I'm only kidding.
Man, you told me not to give you your flowers yesterday. Be quiet.
I was just joking. It was my way of saying to round out. Yeah, subscribe today to Killer Priest. Check it out, as I'm going to do later. It's not something I've watched already, but I only found out about it in the pre-show. But it certainly sounds interesting. And yeah, glad you all got to see the channel with a little bit of audio from it. Hopefully you'll all check it out. Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Arwin, for spamming the links. Also, shout out to Godzilla37. It's just chocolate. What did you want me to do with the rest of the explosives? You don't say. Rush out there. That was terrible.
What?
That was terrible phraseology, Godzilla. But thank you for the super chat. Maybe I read it badly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Chocolate,
me
comma.
later.
You don't.
Did you want me to do? It's not me.
Chocolate.
It's the guides, though.
With the rest of the explosives, you didn't say on our rush out of there.
Oh, as in, can it? Can what you did No, that still don't make
you want
sense.
me to do with the rest of the explosives? Yeah. You didn't say on our rush out there.
Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla.
It makes no sense, Godzilla.
Glad that
bit
didn't come
ropey.
in the Killer Priest discussion because it would have killed the mood immediately. Glad it came after. Thank you for the super chat, though.
I'm going to
Talking
join on
about
my
the
phone,
guides
Nathan, and
don't
go
know.
out into the garden if you want.
Hold on, Chocolate. Go ahead, Adam. Say that again.
I'll join on my phone now, and give me a second, and then I'll put my camera on, and I've hung the banner up. So.
Oh, brilliant! So Adam's had his banners come through, which are going to go out to Speaker's Corner, which you're going to hear more about over the next couple of days, no doubt.
Is it justice for Boris?
Justice for Boris, the bloody Guidestones, you lot with your stupid current events.
This is really an explosive show today.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Right, here we go.
Right, you got me. Right, if I was just...
Hold on, you guys got sun over there? What's going on?
It's
Sure.
It's really
It's
nice.
my afternoon off as well.
Wow, that looks good.
That does look dope.
How big is that?
2 meters.
Whoa.
Wow.
Epic.
You went all out. Good job.
Looks nice. Good resolution. I mean, the camera isn't, but I can tell that the banner is.
Yeah. It's probably just dirty camera in my pocket.
No, it's just low res. It's fine. It's live streamed. So awesome. I can't believe it's actually a physical thing in this short period of time. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, it had to be, mate. That was the rush job, unfortunately, because it's, like I said, it had to go in the post box. Literally at 1:30 today to get there to Devon tomorrow to get to Speaker's Corner for Sunday. So, hence the urgency.
Can you just do
but there you go.
A slow close up on the text? I just get a bit closer and hold it steady just for a second, just so I can show people what the resolution's not high enough to see it. But you can probably see that the questions themselves are going to be nice and clear to anybody who just strolls up it because they're 2 inches high, right?
Yeah. Look, the width of my hand. It's
that's
awesome.
brilliant. Put your hand back in. That was excellent. So you can see that they're almost the width of Adam's hand. They're bigger than I even hoped. So they're really, there you go. When he's close, you can see how big that is. So you'll really be able to read the questions when you're standing next to it, which is the idea. And then from a distance, you can still make out flat Earth debate, although you can't in this resolution. There we go.
well,
Thank you, Adam.
I'm that far away now, and I can still read it. You know what I mean?
Can, but we can't in this resolution. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I see no viable hypothesis.
See a nice garden though.
Thank you, sir. This is the path I laid. That's my COVID path.
The what?
Well, during the COVID break, I had to have something to do, so I laid a little path. Look.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go then, guys.
I think it looks great there in your garden. It just finishes it off.
Just done it. I'm not sure how the wife will take it, but we'll see. I've got family coming down this weekend. I might just leave it hanging up for them just to...
No, it looks
Lovely
fantastic.
sunset.
Yeah, your printer's done a good job. Looks great.
I do it. Just leave it there.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for sharing it. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope. I'm going to need that for that.
You are. Any evidence of the R
Much
value?
more than just R.
Yeah, you will need more than R. But is there any evidence of R?
You're going to need a flat plane for that.
Yes, you are. That's right. Hey, by the way, John.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Very well, very well. We were discussing the ongoing saga with you and Ruhif in the pre-show, and a lot of the Discord panel were mulling over the sort of step-by-step process that has to take place in that discussion. I kept quiet for the most part, but listening to the guys in Discord discussing their confidence in this discussion and in the argument when they're doing it, and comparing it to how you'll be taking those steps, potentially, maybe not, we'll see, with Ruhif. And there's the inevitable flat plane that's going to be required being discussed. Check it out if you're a member. It'll come out obviously after it's finished recording in the after show. It'll come out in 2 or 3 days. For if you're not a member, it'll come out on Monday of next week on the second channel. Subscribe today to my second channel. It's almost up to, I think, 8,000 subscribers. So I hadn't been keeping it as close an eye as I typically would on maybe subscriber counts, because I tend to look at the main channel, and you want that to grow the most. But I hadn't noticed that the second channel's growing more than I'd realised. So the second channel's actually got quite a few subs now. Brilliant. So yeah, subscribe to my second channel if you don't want to become a member, because it's just a way of getting the after show and Uncut show without paying, but you just get it a bit later. Anyway, that discussion about John and about Ruhif and about how there's going to be an inevitable use of a flat plane to acquire an elevation angle, and an inevitable use of a celestial sphere model, which is based on a flat plane also, was discussed by the guys in Discord, and mainly about their associated confidence with that argument that you'll be having, John. Just so you know.
Yeah, well, it's pretty hard where the globe is a projection of a flat Earth model. There's no way not to talk about a flat plane.
Indeed. That's why it's so quiet here. That was the point I brought to that discussion. It's very quiet at the moment because the 2 or 3 people that have come here and entered into discussions about the elevation angle argument have found that they're admitting that they need a flat plane at some point in that discussion. And that's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, like we keep saying, they jump in the gun and skipping past the angle, and now they're in the bloody sextant angle. They keep bringing up bloody, the GP and how'd you get the fix? Well, hang on a minute, let's just rewind to the first thing you did, pal, and that was you obtained an elevation angle and you used a flat baseline for that, and that is proving a flat Earth. So globe is destroyed right there.
They're using the celestial sphere. They're using a flat plane model.
That's correct. So I can only assume John's feeling quite confident.
I'm feeling confident for him.
Me too.
Has a date been set then?
What, behind the bike sheds? Over where the ruffians gather.
Free at the gate.
No, I didn't even look at Discord yesterday. I probably should have checked it, but I didn't even look at it. I'm lazy.
If it is on McToon's channel, that's had a boost according to who is it to credit him? Mr. Cheswick. So again, I don't keep abreast of these things unless people who I'm subscribed to and do actually enjoy watching. Subscribe today to Mr. Cheswick if you enjoy flat Earth music and ridicule, going back towards the anti-flat Earth camp. Then you'll like Mr. Cheswick. Check him out. But he pointed out that, hence the discussion yesterday about conspiracy cats when I think it was John that brought him up. He's moved on to other things in terms of a sort of semi-rebranding of a third channel that he's made. And he's given his other channels that he's managed to build up into a fairly subsizable channel to a couple of other anti-flat earthers. I think Mr. Sensible and MC Toon, I believe. So shout out to Mr. Cheswick for passing that information on. It was very useful for me to to read between the lines and say, oh yeah, trying to put that flat earth horribleness behind you, are you cats? Yeah, it ain't going nowhere. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't take the red pill after the blue pill and vice versa.
Have you seen Flatzoid's latest video, Nathan?
I saw the thumbnail. It's one of those. I did see the thumbnail. I did see cats was in the title. I don't know what it's about. Feel free to fill us in.
It's basically, without the balloon, there can be no pressure. And he's just regurgitating that again, but it's a brilliant clip where Conspiracy Cats is describing how you need the balloon to get the gas pressure. And he says, without the balloon, there can be no pressure. And how he doesn't apply that to Earth because there's no balloon around the Earth in their model. So how can there be pressure? It's just regurgitating what we've already had, but it's very, very good if you've not seen it before. Check out Flatzoid's latest video.
Right. So he had that from me. So Katz had over 100 repetitions of how can you have gas pressure without a container put to him in various means, verbal, non-verbal, and you never had an answer to it. Now, he did do a couple of demonstrations early on where he made some pretty damning disclaimers in terms of the requirement to have gas pressure, because without the container, there can be no pressure. But ultimately, Katz is, as I say, trying to distance himself from this subject. And he's my other example on Haunted Houses channel, where he, in the third person, describes the pain and anguish that you would feel if you were to truly contemplate the awful truth that the Earth was, in fact, observably, measurably, navigatably flat. You know, if you were the kind of person that realised when you were taking angles to things in the Blackpool Swan, how that would only be possible on a flat Earth, you might want to escape that and put it behind you. But it'll still be there in the back of your mind. I mean, I'm using Katz as a generalisation of a comparison to somebody who leaves the arena never to be seen again. Their pain won't leave them. We won't be there as a constant reminder when they're hanging around us telling us to shut up, as a constant reminder to them about how their paradigm actually isn't real. Yeah, like straight lines to geometric horizons you've told us are bent and various things like that. You might be able to distance yourself from it, but every once in a while, you'll remember. You'll have that cold shiver down your spine.
You know how they're pimping themselves around again? We was talking about they leaving us alone to stop the pain. And we was on about Brenda. I've posted it in the Master B now, but I stuck it in the war room last night. But she's back on Arwen's favourite channel, Jim Bob.
Yep.
And
Shout out to Made by Jim Bob.
Yeah, posted it. She's obviously having the same resonations with him as she did with us, because he's made a little short video, so it's there. It's worth a giggle, but it's same old stuff, trolloping out. It's the same old stuff, and obviously it's been destroyed over here. So all she can do is go and get destroyed elsewhere. Slightly different to cats. They've just had to avoid the subject totally now, haven't they? They're off on other things.
Yeah, which is fine by me. I mean, I don't care. I don't watch. I'm not interested. But ultimately speaking, when I see it reported that somebody's trying to distance themselves from their flat Earth associations, move on to other things, donate their built on flat Earth foundations channels to other anti-flat Earthers, you think, okay, so you want to escape this subject. But you can't. There is no escaping this subject. Once you know what you know, it doesn't matter if you're on the flat Earth side or the globe side. You know, I stroll around in normie society without any issues either. You know, but I know the nature of the reality is flat, and so does someone like Katz. But he doesn't want it to be, because it means he'd have to question other things that will go into the forefront of his mind when it sneaks in and sends a shiver down his spine. Anyway, shout out to Liz the Iron. Just Liz the Iron.
Liz the Iron Maiden. So Liz is
the
one of
Iron
my
Maiden.
friends.
Glad you're here, Adam. Thank you very much for the super chat or super sticker heart. Really appreciate it.
Shout out to Liz. Good mate. I hope you're well done.
Very long time flat Earth follower. Seen her around since 2015.
Yeah, I used to see her in chat on Iron Realm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew the name. Yeah, thank you very much for the super chat, Liz. Really appreciate it. We've covered all the housekeeping
To shoot
questions. Go on.
I was going to say, to shoot the messenger is kind of how people are, though. Like where Katz said that, you know, or the way Katz acts. It's like if a girl's raped and the judge asks her what she was wearing, you know, to label that blame onto the messenger than to deal with the problem itself. It's pretty common in people.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they got called anti-flat earthers. That was the predominant reason, in fact, because they want to shut us down as opposed to prove Earth is a sphere. They want to argue with our assertions or our debunkings. Not prove Earth's a sphere, argue with what we say is wrong and right, and how it's wrong and right, and how they say what they say makes it a sphere. They don't want to argue for the sphere rhetoric either. So they'll attack us because we're the messenger in this metaphor. if they can shut us down. And the alternative, it's fight or flight, right? It's really base when you think about it in this context. So what do? If you come across something that you don't like, you've got a couple of choices. You can fight it, put up your fists, like MC Toon and Simon Dan and whoever else. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They put their fists in this little pond that we're in and they're splashing around, hitting us with their tail. Okay, that's one option. The other is run away. Flight. That's what Katz has done. He's taken flight. Bye-bye, Katz. Meanwhile, you'll still know Earth's not a sphere, and you'll know all the reasons why. And all the reasons you left here with your mark on the pond being annihilated. All you'll be is a quote. Without the container, there can be no pressure. Right, Katz? Without the balloon, there can be no pressure. Yeah, space is fake, mate. And you'll know it for the rest of your natural-born life. And you'll worry about it and concern yourself with the wider-reaching implications of it for the rest of your natural-born life, whether you like it or not.
And because the numbers of flat earthers are doing nothing but growing, eventually you'll end up running into one, and then it'll bring you right back. Unless, of course, you do your best to avoid it, because it does sound like it's some type of psychological pain, because a lot of these people, I think, thought, oh, these stupid flat earthers, they won't be here for like 2 months, 3 months. This will just be a fleeting breeze, and just a slight breeze. We weren't supposed to be here continuously now. I think some of these people really believe that, and it psychologically hurts them that there are these people out there that are going against their model and asking questions, because they get mad at us for just asking questions. Like, hey, the things you assert to us don't make any sense. What gives? And because the model, quote unquote, is so indefendable, it hurts. That's why they're dropping like flies.
Last week, I've met 2 new flat earthers. I got an Uber, and my Uber driver was a flat earther. And the receptionist at my doctor's office is a flat earther. I just thought that was weird.
Did he charge you a flat rate?
Weird. Saw a quick video the other day. I have a David Weiss's app. I don't use it very much, but he had a video the other day, and he had a screenshot of like all the people that are registered as flat earthers on the app itself, and I was like, holy shit. And those are just the people that are registered, and that doesn't show the people that have no idea even about the app. But the amount of dots that I saw on that map was insane. And I was like, yep, this is why psychologically it's hurting for some of these guys, because, again, we should have gone away, but we're not.
That's the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app, which I have a little place on. So there's a little Flat Earth debate part of the video section on that app, and I keep it regularly updated with short videos. So check it out. Shout out to DITRH.
Oh, yeah. Those dots are very useful for my targeting computer. I mean social network.
For your targeting computer. Yeah, that was discussed. I remember discussing it myself with Dave Weiss himself. And yeah, it was considered, but by the same token, you look at all the other various different apps that do almost identical things for different reasons, and you're like, who cares? The amount of personal data that's out on people is immense. Unless you're implying that somebody might specifically want that, like they could get it from many other different groups for flat earthers because they want, in the vein that we've just been discussing, to shut us down, all of us, by some means.
To be fair, obviously it's not happening everywhere, but there has been instances of globers, quote unquote, targeting flat earthers to do them harm, whether it be like to their social sphere or their job.
Sure. Yeah, I endured it for the first 2, maybe 3 years that I was here. but you know, you don't expect it, so you're typically going to be reactionary to it when you first encounter it. Now, given that its prevalence is, let's call it 7 years, with the subject still being out in the public without, I don't know, the censorship level. Some days I think it's terrible. Sometimes I think, okay, well, we're still here, still doing what we do. We haven't been memory holed yet. 125 people watching this live show. Woohoo! Shout out to all of you who shared the show. Really appreciate it. Smash the share button if you haven't done already. So yeah, there's people who are definitely going to be interested in it. But I knew that when I picked the subject. It's an evergreen subject. It's conspiratorial, so people like that. And when you've got a ground in facts, which we now have, people are going to be intrigued by it and stick around till they understand it. And it's not the simplest things. So you've got a certain amount of audience retention. There's going to be losses in terms of audience, because once a certain individual has reached the point where they know everything that there is to know on the show, they'll pop back in and go, oh, all right, there's a new argument about an elevation angle. I might stick around for a bit to watch that. And then they'll float back along in another 6 months. Hence, the audience figures grow more than the live stream numbers grow. There's a consistent number of people who want to watch live, and has been probably for the last 7 years. If you average it, it's about the same as it was when I started and I had no subs. I'd still get 125 people. It's nuts. But the subscriber count and the overall views has massively increased. You know, people will come back after the show's finished live and come back and watch it. Every single day the show gets 1,000 views.
Yeah. And, you know, part of the, like, I don't know who followed Mark Sargent, but he used to in his show routinely go over the numbers in YouTube of the escalation of relevant search results for flat Earth up until it surpassed Justin Bieber and Donald Trump, which YouTube responded by pulling those algorithms to be available to the public. However, in doing so, they force people to speak to each other, because before you could get your itch scratched on YouTube, now you actually have to discuss it more often than not in real life. And so, like the other guy said, he's starting to see more and more flat earthers in his real life, and that's just going to keep happening.
Right. This might develop into a conversation that the other side of the conspiracy, which is that it's been intentionally let out into the public domain. It's a slow release.
I just looked on the app, Nathan. Couldn't tell you location, but there appears to be, I think, 64,900 people signed up to the app, which is...
So when someone says how many flat earthers are there, is there 10,000, 5,000? Well, minimum, there's 64,000. That said, there's plenty of non-flat earthers on that app too. I know that for a fact.
I'd say they're probably anti-flat earthers, so they're still flat earthers, Nathan.
Yeah. Yeah. So I suppose if you know that app, yeah, I'm going to go with that. There's at least 100,000 flat earthers. At least.
Well, there's a relevant, I don't know who did it, but if I remember correctly, you know, basically the questions were like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in Christianity? Do you believe in this? Do you believe the earth is flat? And it was like, I think 30% or more answered the survey that they weren't sure the earth was a globe and it could be flat. If not, it is flat.
Yeah, there's going to be the silent majority, perhaps, just of the understanding that watch the videos. It's like... Go on.
Go ahead. I was going to say, part of it's a perceived minority. Most people think it's a minority, and that's why they're not free to discuss it. And this is actually a common phenomenon in psychology where there's a ratio, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's like once a certain amount of people in your social group are willing to talk about a topic, or you know that they are willing to talk about it, all of a sudden you're willing to talk about it. And then once it happens, then it just becomes saturated in the normal social culture, like reaching a threshold, and then everybody all of a sudden realizes, wait a minute, we were all flat earthers all along? Or for example, wait a minute, we were all Republicans all along? Whereas before, they didn't discuss it.
Right. So if I parallel that with something that's not subject related, just so there's a parallel. If you say that there's a good chunk of people who understand what propaganda and media manipulation and lies in the news are, and it doesn't mean that that person who's watched all the videos show about how propaganda functions are going to be out in normie society barking on about it. It just means that they've got a certain level of appreciation for it, and therefore a level of skepticism that they employ in their day-to-day lives, as opposed to an anti-news evangelist, right? So those people aren't barking on about it. And if they came across somebody who potentially said, oh, well, I believe every word that it says on the paper when they talk about Boris Johnson or the Georgia Guidestones, well, if that person was to, you know, your average normie that just believes everything they read, you might, that hypothetical person that has looked into propaganda, might just nod along politely, not indicate in any way that they've got a good understanding that this needs a degree of skepticism. It might be that they haven't applied that degree of skepticism to the current story that the normie's talking to them about. So they just smile and nod and think, yeah, I don't just swallow this whole, but I'm not going to tell you that because I can do without the aggro. You know what I mean? That's what your average normie is going to be like if they're reasonably well informed. And you're suggesting that maybe underneath the surface of we don't talk about that, there's a fair few people who do understand and appreciate that they've been lied to in regards to the nature of our reality, and do appreciate that the sphere Earth is just merely a cosmology and a potentially even a religious belief that they've come to the understanding now because they've looked into it. But that doesn't mean they're going to be out there parroting it. Doesn't mean that they're going to be out there disagreeing with your average Joe Next man who tells them about how they're going to Mars because they've seen it on Discovery. Yeah, they'll just go, oh, right, that's really interesting. And then get on with their day until, as you've just described, there reaches a point where the two are standing. I've had this discussion several weeks ago. I'm not just trying to take credit. Two people are sat at a bus stop and they overhear a third man discussing flat Earth. And suddenly they all, at the same time, have a moment of appreciation where they realise that it's just everyone around them realises it's flat. Nobody buys that old religious rhetoric anymore. Oh, so we all at this bus stop knew it was flat then? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, so we can talk about it then? Yeah. None of us are going to call each other's idiots because we're talking about how the nature of reality is a flat plane that we navigate and measure and build on. No, we're not going to call you a dick for just talking about it because all of us know it, so it doesn't really have any cause for calling each other dicks. Of course, then someone crosses the road, joins the bus stop, hearing 5 people talking about how Earth's flat, and they go, are you all morons? Or something like that.
I mean, that's literally happened to me at work. That's how people, that's why and how people know I'm a flat earther here, because I talk about it with 2 guys on the phone, and they overhear it. And at one point, I had to sit back and laugh because at one point, I got my entire floor to talk about flat earth. Everybody, even people that came into the department and do something and had to leave, they were all, I literally, I shut up, I sat back, and I just looked and kind of just chuckled to myself like, wow, I really just got this entire department talking about the shape of the earth right now.
I can picture it. Postman walks in. Can I get a signature for this, please? Yeah, sure. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? You what? Yeah, we don't know how far the sun is. It's all based on an R value that was derived from a flat plane.
Did you not?
Just need a signature. Let me out of here, you crazies.
But the most striking thing about that was that it wasn't. It wasn't. Sorry, go ahead, man.
I was just going to say, let's just contrast that with the market saturation appearances, right? So if you have a PDA, right, that's company specific, you won't encounter this, but if you're using an app on your phone, when you lift your phone to get a signature, there's a high probability that in your feed will be something about space, something retarded like Uranus farts.
Indeed. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the PayPal and Patreon links, hit the thanks button, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hello? Hi.
This
Are
one was
you
wearing a
alright?
face mask and a face shield, though, the two of them together.
Extra protection.
What's the chances she's a glober?
Yeah, it definitely is a glober.
Who are you talking about?
A woman just walked past my window whilst you were rounding out. She was wearing a face mask as well as one of those face shields, the plastic face shields. And I looked at her, I was like, why are you wearing that, you fool? Take it off.
Why? Why'd you care?
I just haven't seen anybody wearing anything like that for months.
It's national pride, Nathan. National pride.
I just ask people like air and shit. Like, like air is cool.
I don't know.
We don't want our country people to be associated with still wearing masks at this point. That's why.
Diapers.
I don't know. Live and let live. If someone wants to walk around in a mask, let them. I don't know why you... I don't know. It's the same when I was moaning at Spurs. It's like, why are you going out there trying to tell people they should be a flat earther? It's like, mind your own business. Live and let live, man.
It's national pride, right? Like, those around you are indirectly a reflection upon you, right? If you have that identity at all, a national identity for yourself and your spirit. So it does matter. Like, I'm embarrassed when I see Dutch people walking around with a mask. And I look at them like I'm embarrassed. I'm not going to tell them. They should know. They probably do know. It's just that they're not in a good spot. And I'm glad I'm only spotting very few of them still.
Hold on. Aren't they spraying these guys?
Haven't they
I
what?
think you've just got to realise.
Nah, we don't worry about that.
Aren't
These
they
are
spraying
people
the
that are
skies
in
every
mental
day?
health
We
issues.
see what we call chemtrails and so on. Shouldn't
Chemtrails?
people be concerned about it and have a mask at least?
Maybe not.
Yeah, it's not going to work against that.
I don't know if I should be concerned with chemtrails. What were you saying, Adam, about mental health?
Well, you've got to realise that these people have been subject to media barrage for 2 to 3 years, to the point that they believe it all, yeah, just like the bull rhetoric, to the point that they're still scared. They're not doing it now for any other reason than they genuinely still feel afraid for their own lives because they believed everything and still do. They're not to be mocked or scoffed, they're to be pitied.
I completely agree. You should have some empathy for these people. They've been fear-bombed for years. Adam's absolutely correct. And that's kind of the sentiment I have when I see these people. I think, you poor sod, you look scared to death. You're terrified, aren't you?
Well, it's sort of like the heliocent, the anti-flat earthers, that where they deny their priesthood. These same people are so afraid that they're denying the news and they're telling them to take the masks off, but they're so scared they can't. Just like the anti-flat earthers are so scared that they ignore what their priests tell them.
Oh, please let him just make his point, Arwin. You can go after, I promise.
I know, sorry.
One more time, John.
Well, I think there's a point in people's cognition when there is that much fear that it'll override any authority trying to tell them otherwise. They'll cling on to, their own ideas, and that we see that in anti-flat earthers a lot.
And I totally agree with that notion. There's one very, very distinct difference, though. Anti-flat earthers are not going to die because of their fear conviction. And these people are much more likely to end up like that because they're going to keep falling for these deadly tricks, right? Anti-flat earthers are going to be delusional. That's their price. But they're probably going to be able to live on very easily. So the weight is a little more.
Well, when it gets to you being told that you have to now put one of these things in your face and walk around with a diaper, well, that's where it becomes problematic, right?
Hey, we've done that. We've been there. We all did that. And I don't know why this is coming up, to be honest. But other than Anthony having somebody walk past his face that he wants to shout at and tell them they're wrong. rather than sympathising with them and saying, it's okay, you're going to be all right.
Right. We want to
That
help
is what it
them
helps.
break through. We want to help them. We want to help
offices.
them break through, right?
No,
Actually,
I don't care.
I just wanted to go
no, I
up to and
don't.
breathe all
No,
over.
just let me answer, Arwen. No, I don't. That's my point entirely. No. In this example, woman walks past with mask. Do I want to open my front door, walk up to her and say, just out of interest, why are you... No, I'm not going to ask her anything or care. No, definitely not.
Not even a single try? I mean...
So why?
If
Why
they're
is it
kind
that
of
you...
nice,
Why
wouldn't
is it...
you want to try?
Anti-mask evangelist, why is it that you want to go out and tell people that they're wrong to wear a mask? If that's their pain
Because
relief...
it might be just the opportunity they needed, they've been waiting on for so long.
They've just been
After
the
sitting
arrogance.
through all the garbage from the outside world, right?
Can
They
I have
need
this
time.
one?
Oh, no, hold on, let me finish,
Yeah, with
please.
you.
They need time to let it sink in while they're holding on to their fear, right? All they need to hear in the end is just like, it's all right. It wasn't real. And they need that confidence from a person that really knows and gets it. So give them at least one opportunity, you know? And if they are immediately going to go in a defensive mode, yeah, of course, walk away. Or move around it to make them forget it, that happened. But
you're
don't
just a stranger that
let
just came out
them
of
die
nowhere.
without a single opportunity.
Hold on, someone wants to address you, Arwen. Go ahead, whoever that was in
But
Discord.
Arwen, you're just a stranger.
Albariqua.
I'm getting feedback. Someone. So you're just a stranger. Just walked up to somebody that's saying, "Hey, it's all right. You don't have to wear a mask, bro." I mean, how are they gonna trust? You said they're gonna trust you practically because you know. I mean,
They
how do they
might.
know that you know?
Owen thinks they've been waiting around for him to come along and tell him. That's literally what he just said.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe you too.
Well,
maybe they
what?
just want. They're going to be isolated. They're going to be lonely, right? Maybe they secretly want out of this model that they got themselves railroaded into.
Hey, Anthony, did you know Arwen had all of this backstory for that stranger that just walked past?
I have not been even listening.
It's not a backstory, it's a back structure. It is a logical, consistent structure that people are involved in. And if you see these signs on them that they're still walking around with a mask, there's a good chance that we can derive a lot of insight on what they believe in based on what they do.
I mean, is it hurting you?
I'm sorry, it might be an empath thing or something. It's just that it comes as second nature to me. It's just like
So fundamentally, why some stranger coming up to the supermarket? Why should you? The point I was making earlier, they've been brainwashed. Why do you think your interjection is going to undo all that? What validation do you provide for them against all of the brainwashing they've been subject to, all of the pseudoscience, Why is your presence or anybody's presence just randomly gonna wash all that away? To me,
because
it's only
they
going to
need
create.
it. Because they need
In
other
your
people,
opinion, they need
despite
it.
their convictions. They need other people, and they need their energy. They need the interaction to be
Yeah.
human.
In
Hey,
your
What if
Arwen,
they are
Arwen, let me
ill
hook you up.
themselves? What if they are using that to protect the people from them?
Hey, guys, this is relevant to what we were just talking about, where there's a ratio of connection that once you realize enough people have broached a certain topic, all of a sudden it becomes palatable for you. So if nobody
you got
ever
there
talks
so
to them
quick.
about it.
So thank you for the consistency. You got there real quick. The last statement. So it's palatable for you, right? The guy at the bus stop example, who turns around and goes, "Oh, so we can all talk about this now." He's waiting for the social permission to do so. Yeah, that's not me. I don't know if it's you. If it is, fair enough. But I never needed that to feel comfortable.
Well, yeah, I am kind of that guy. I'm not always pushing it on everybody, but I am that guy. I'm like always available. Like, you really need to talk, don't you? I just look at them like, you can talk to me. Right? I know you've been waiting for a long time for somebody that can actually get it and give you
I'm the
what
guy.
you need.
I'm the guy whenever I'm pulled into an office and asked why am I not wearing this diaper on my face. I treat it like everything else. Is there any scientific evidence that this thing is supposed to be, that this thing actually protects me from whatever you think it's supposed to be protecting me from?
I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
My managers look at me, my supervisor, one of my leads, they just kind of look at me like, we're doing this with this? Yes, because this actually affects me, right? You want me to put this thing on my face, but yet the people that got you telling me to put this on my face don't wear it themselves. So the whole thing is that follow the science. That's the favorite term of the past 2 years. So do you have any science that proves that this thing actually does what it's supposed to do? If
so
not,
chocolate, right? Does what grinds your gears there is somebody else in an ill-informed way coming up to you and telling you how to live your life, what's good for your health. How is that?
That's not what I'm
Respectfully,
hearing.
Arwin, how is that any different to you wandering up to somebody because you think they shouldn't be wearing it? I'm talking about how it can be received by a total stranger. How is that any different? To me, that same wall's going to come up because who the hell are you to tell me this? And quite rightly, Chocolate's boss telling him to wear this. Who the hell are you? What validation do you have? And I would still present to you with that same attitude. If you stranger, anyone walks up to me and like starts telling me what to do, it's a bit weird, mate. It's with flat Earth. I'm going on the road, aren't I, on the tours? But I'm not ringing people up or just going randomly up into the supermarket and going, "Oi, you're wrong. Let me give you a little bit of peace. It's flat," and then being surprised if they're not given it, some karmic relief. People will approach you if they want it. There's enough people out there not wearing face masks for these people to realize they're in a very small minority now. They don't need absolution from strangers.
Not for nothing, I've gotten other people who know about me. They've seen how I go about with flat Earth at work, and because I related it to that, I've actually had people who will question the same thing and actually stop wearing the mask because, what you're saying is right. What the hell? There's no evidence that this protects me from anything, and the people that want me to wear it don't wear it themselves. So what the hell am I doing? Now, obviously, there are other people whose face I haven't seen at work for 2 years because they refuse to take it off. Now, that's on them. They're not strangers in the street. Sometimes I'll say really flippantly, try to make it, kind of in conversation, hey, why you got that on your face? And that particular guy, who happens to be the same guy that when he heard I was a flat earther, put his fingers in his ears and walked away and said, la, 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 can't have this conversation. So, it kind of does make sense that he's the same guy that I haven't seen his face in 2 years. Go ahead, AI.
In a connected social sphere, right, where we have now with media saturation, the people who are wearing it have the assumption that they're supposed to be and that everyone agrees, right? But why should they and that ethos imprint itself on you? For example, let's just say one day you walk up and decide to go outside, right, for a nice walk, and you just encounter a bunch of people with masks on their face. Is it not unreasonable or reasonable to just be like, dude, what are you wearing that on your face for? Why assume like you have to agree with the narrative where you're just going to let them do it when it's odd to you?
Conversations amongst work colleagues, like Chocolate's describing, that's reasonable banter and just discussing stuff. Be that flat Earth face mask with people and if you've all got a slight different, I don't say it wrong with that, but just like randomly, like going up to people and now correcting them on your worldview because they clearly have a different one. I think it's just not appropriate.
I don't know
really.
if that's what Arwen was saying. What I took from what he was saying was that he has empathy and he can see it in people. He can see that they're being manipulated, and he just feels that maybe it's sometimes just going up to somebody and saying, "Hey, you're going to be all right," and then leaving could go a long way.
Yeah, exactly. You get it.
I had the exact opposite happen to me. I was at a store, not wearing a mask, obviously. and this guy walked up wearing one. And he said, I mean, I don't know this guy from anybody. So stranger. And he said to me, obviously, you're not afraid of dying. And I looked at him, I go, what makes you think I'm going to die? He says, well, you're not wearing a mask. And I go, you want to know why I'm not wearing a mask? We can sit and talk about it. And he walked away. So here I was a willing recipient because I'm informed. And the guy making the statement wasn't empathetic. He was just brainwashed. So he didn't want to talk about it with someone who was informed. I had the exact opposite happen.
My usual answer to people
that
that
happens
say
too, right?
you're not
They have
afraid
to
of
be in the
dying
right frequency.
is usually sorry. My usual answer to anybody that says you're not afraid of dying, obviously you're not afraid of dying. Well, everybody dies. It's undeniable.
I had an elderly woman at work who was she wore a mask and she didn't want to wear the mask, but the employees were sort of forcing it upon them, and I could tell she was really uncomfortable and getting upset. So I went out my way I had a chat with her. I went out my way to get her an exemption card and a lanyard, and I wrote a letter to the manager of the store explaining that she didn't have to wear one and it's making her upset and causing her anxiety. And then the next time I went in, 2 weeks later, she's got a lanyard on with the exemption card. And I tell you what, I've never seen a smile so bright. And she was so thankful that I'd just, told her this information and made it happen for her. So I was really pleased about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes it just takes somebody to be like, hey, you don't have to do that. Especially because the television told you to.
Is there a viable hypothesis for wearing a mask?
Yeah, that's my question when I'm sitting in the meetings.
Masks are actually mentioned in the Bible and not in a good way. So.
It did say Bible.
Oh. What?
Said viable
The carnival.
hypothesis.
It's when you wear a mask.
If mask, no COVID.
To be fair to Arwin, I thought he said Bible as well.
Viable.
I said viable. Viable.
That sounds like Bible to me.
It sounded like Bible.
I want to know what a Bible hypothesis is. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, that means that it is in the Bible. So,
if I was going to say Bible, I said Bible, not viable.
Wouldn't a Bible hypothesis be a prophecy?
Yeah.
What is the hypothesis for the Bible? The hypothesis for the Bible is it's a Bible.
No, it's a prophecy. A prophecy would be a Bible hypothesis.
Nobody got that. No. True.
I was off
Brenda. Yeah, just don't bite. Anthony's just trying to trigger someone.
No, I'm not. I'm not. A Bible hypothesis would be a prophecy.
That makes about the most logical sense if you were going to try and apply it to anything, but I don't.
Yeah. Nathan thought I was trolling and I was genuinely being sincere.
The topic of you in the Bible coming up, there's a little bit of bear poking to be expected.
Yeah, there is. But not on that one occasion. I can think of thinking I was winding people up. I wasn't. Just showing that Nathan doesn't know what a prophecy is.
Oh, here we go. You're not going to work that on me when I'm pointing it out to everyone else not to bite.
Well, he started off with Boris. Now he's doing this. He's just got you.
Sometimes the
Guidestones and Boris.
The devil makes work for idle thumbs.
I think Sleep Warrior should be the new Boris.
I think I should be the new Boris. I'll drop him with on a jetpack. Did you ever see him getting stuck
Nobody
on that zip
needs
line,
a new Boris, guys. Come on. We don't need another one.
If Boris can do it, anyone can do it.
Chocolate.
Yes.
Did you ever see Boris get caught on? He got stuck on that zip line.
No.
He came into some event and he came in via a zip line, and I think he was meant to get all the way to the end of it, but for some reason it malfunctioned. I don't know exactly what was wrong with it, but he got stuck, suspended from his harness, and his kecks were like halfway up his ankles, up his shins, because he was held in a weird position that made him look. It was very unflattering for him, and he tried to make the best of it he could by clowning around, and it just made him look really silly. But at the time, we needed somebody a little bit more jovial, because Theresa May was the Prime Minister and she was very cold and conservative, typically conservative, and he was like a clown. So everyone thought it was endearing. And now looking back at it, it just didn't, time wasn't kind to it.
They're all clowns.
Yeah, that's when he became mayor of London.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Dutch farmers.
Yeah, defo.
They've got a tank.
So this is life post curvature. Huh?
It's all one big bloody theatre show, innit? Look at it.
And my post curvature life. It's like a bad MTV show.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a long hanging silence. Arwin, save us.
From what? From the silence?
I don't know, just start talking.
Okay. Well, I think that the Earth is rectangular looping.
Okay, that's enough.
And the celestial lines are non-local holographic.
Okay, don't take the piss, that's enough.
Is that good enough?
No, it's too much.
So, other than the Georgia stones colliding after the collision of the CERN, did y'all see the CGI and the CERN collision and whatnot?
It's shocking now. The amount of things that are on telly at the moment that are supposed to be. Do you know what? Right, there's been an ongoing feud in Australia. This is on topic, so bear with me. Apparently, Australia are going for net zero, for carbon and all that, and they've stopped producing electricity via coal. So they're trying to use only renewables, right? But there's a political problem with China, and they've had to fire up the coal plants to get them running again because there's a shortfall of energy. And it dawned on me that if NASA get paid whatever it is it $70 billion a day or whatever it is, they've done the research and the development for the solar panels that sit on top of the ISS. Why is it that the best that we get from NASA is things like Teflon or whatever, the non-stick pan stuff? Why have we not got really good solar panels yet? Because they've done the research and development. They have got the solution to all the why can't we have these solar panels for buttons? Because it's already been perfected by NASA. Because let's be honest, they used them on the International Space Station, right? I don't see why we have not had that filtered through to us by now. It's an outrage.
That's an interesting one, because I don't doubt for one second that there are people actually making solar panels that are of really high standards that are claimed to go off into space. But I also know that space is fake. So regardless of whether or not there's lots of people employed that you could definitely use to your advantage if you're claiming that because we've got these technicians creating these really great solar panels, that here they are, look, great solar panel, therefore space is real. No, it just means that they've got great technology for solar panels at NASA. which they might be able to show you, unlike space.
But my question really is, why don't the civilian, why does the consumer not have the same NASA grade technology that's on the ISS? Why don't we have that on our houses? And why isn't like £100 a panel? Because like they've done all the research and development, it should be available for us to benefit
Sure it
from.
is, but it's just probably very expensive. Obviously, if you're NASA, regardless of the lies that we point out about them claiming to go to outer space, they are doing technological things, and I'm sure they're very expensive. Just because they can do them doesn't mean that they can scale them to the point where you're going to be able to afford them. I don't understand what are you doing?
I've got one. I've got one, Tony. Yeah. Lettuce. NASA's been growing lettuce in space for years. You can go to the supermarket now and buy lettuce.
So my point was, respectfully, I'm going to move past that. Thank you for the lettuce. But my point was that, like, normally the main argument against stuff getting into the mainstream is that the research and development costs too much money for it to do, and it doesn't scale down. But with NASA, the research and development is already done. They make this stuff, right? It does already exist. So there's no reason why we couldn't benefit from it. Yet we don't benefit from it. Why is it that we don't benefit from? Every home should have photovoltaic cells on the roof. That is the same stuff that goes on the ISS, but we don't have it. Why not?
No,
I literally work for a solar battery company that thinks they have technology on the ISS as well. Like literally say that in meetings. My eyes roll back into the back of my head. It's like, yeah, we got those technology, but none of that's running around in a freaking second law of thermodynamics violation. But I can't really say that in my meetings like that. So,
so they did give it the Tempur-Pedic, right? So why can't they do the other thing, the panels?
It would be also a violation of the first law. They're getting energy out of nothing.
Also, the Velcro.
I get your point, Tony, because they're always saying that they're going up there doing science and it's for the betterment of humanity. But I'm sitting there trying to think of something that they have produced. Teflon was the one you said sarcastically, which was an early 70s claim of the benefits of NASA, weren't it? But I can't. That's why I said lettuce, because I can't think of anything else really.
Apparently, they did Velcro.
Ballpoint pen.
What, they didn't have Velcro before space flight?
Apparently, I mean, I'm sure there are things that NASA have genuinely invented, right? You're bound to invent something when you got that amount of money. But I just don't understand why, given that Australia is one of the sunniest countries in the whole world, why is it that we don't have the technology trickle through when all the R&D is done? Why are we not benefiting from this? I don't get it.
Well, they invented moonwalking.
That was Michael Jackson.
Well, I think the issue with that though is that there's a big energy consumption profit, right? So having solar panels will definitely diminish that.
Well, I was listening to a back and forth between people that were either pro coal or against coal, or pro nuclear or against nuclear, and they were both bitching back and forth. And I thought, isn't this a false dichotomy? Isn't there an alternative here that nobody's talking about? And it's literally like because there were some people talking about wind power and a few other alternatives, but they were very much shoo-shooed off as your argument is so trivial, it's not going to sort it long term.
How about just being pro-energy?
But I just thought that. Why is it that NASA get all the money they get? They've done the research and development. Why is it that this solution is not already here? Why does it not? Why is the solution not found with NASA? Because it should be found with them. They know how to do this stuff.
Hold on. What actual research and development has NASA delivered that we could use?
Research. So they claim they've got the ISS with big, massive, super efficient panels on the thing that deals with now bearing in mind that you can't have temperature fluctuations in the vacuum of space. It deals with the extreme high and the extreme low of orbiting the Earth and temperature-related issues to do with orbiting the Earth, and they deal with them perfectly, right? And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, why is the solution not with them? Why are we even having this stupid Because I remember being in primary school and secondary
Solution
school.
to what? What are you going to accomplish?
And they were arguing about coal over nuclear then. I mean, that was like 30 years ago. Are you telling me that we've not progressed as mankind in the last 30 years? Why are we even having this argument now? Honestly, it made my piss boil.
I still don't see how NASA is going to actually deliver an alternative option as to where we could go with our industries, right? Where's the tangible proof? What have they actually delivered that's more than just some contemporary trivial thing?
That's what I'm saying.
I think that's his point, Arwen. That's his point.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you, damn it.
What's wrong with coal?
Well, I was watching.
Nothing. There's a lot of it.
No, and this is the point that they're talking about not coal, but nuclear and natural gas, because they can't meet these energy needs. There's discussion that the European Union are reconsidering rebranding both nuclear and natural gas as green energies.
Well, I was talking about
that's
Australia.
An interesting development.
It was on Steve Turner.
I was only referencing Australia because they've had a fallout with China. Apparently, Australia have got a big, massive barge, and it's been sat in port in China for nearly 12 months or just over 12 months. And they were saying that Australia used to export coal to China, and now they've had a fallout over politics. So now they're bringing the coal back to Australia, but they don't even use coal anymore because they're trying to go net zero. And they were talking about how there's a shortage. And it just dawned on me why it just doesn't make sense that NASA have not got this already sorted for the benefit of the citizen. It's like, Chocolate, what do you think, given that you're an American? Do you not think that NASA should play a major role in this if they were doing the job that they claim that they're doing?
I'm going to stick to my motto. I'm just pro-energy. You know, there's developments in all of the technology. It becomes more efficient, more clean. Just give the engineers a chance. You know, there's great things you could build in this age with like in every direction. So it becomes more about, okay, do we want the energy to be available to people or not? And that's where the darkness, that's where the World Economic Forum conspirators are pushing the buttons and trying to deprive us of energy. That's their objective, not about whether any form of energy is clean or not. They don't care. They just want to suppress us.
I think a lot of it's about money, obviously. But here in Australia at the moment, we've got a weird situation where we've got some of the largest supply of coal reserves. We sell it all to China. They then pump out all of their greenhouse, quote unquote, greenhouse gases, and end up producing the majority of the world's pollution along with India. And then here we've got in politics, we've got the Greens who are all about clean energy. They're all happy to take the money that comes from China from giving them the coal to burn their fossil fuels. And then over here, they basically want to try and go the sustainable route and go the wind farms, the solar farms, despite how ungreen it is, mining all of the nickel required to produce the batteries, disposing of the batteries, the amount of energy you lose on transfer every time you're putting, energy into the batteries. Like, it's probably one of the least green solutions you could come up with.
We got a wind farm problem here in the Netherlands.
They've sold it here.
We got a wind farm problem here in the Netherlands where they decided to basically allow the ocean, or the part of the ocean that's kind of like dammed in, right? The inner ocean in the Netherlands, to be used for windmills. And this is windmills are not good. Windmills decrease ability to fish, right? So fishermen are just against windmills because windmills are bad for business. So we got to take that into account as well, right?
I think that the main problem.
Good.
Yeah, but this all comes back to this same problem, and that is they made everyone believe there was such thing as an ozone layer. Find out how much actual ozone is up at its highest concentration point in the sky. This information is directly there from NASA. Find out exactly how much is there and find out what the actual air pressure is up there and how much of this oxygen can even become O3 and how much O3 is destroyed by other means up there. Natural means, things that destroy O3. There is no layer. There never was a layer. And this all comes back to that absolute total and utter horse manure. That's where it all comes back to.
Yep.
We don't
know, notion of
we don't have an
global
energy
warming,
crisis.
climate change.
Yep. We have a stupidity crisis.
I think they really blew it when it comes to wind farms.
Yeah, they did. It's a giant waste. Like these things fill up landfills, okay? Landfills, giant landfills, only filled with old windmills that have passed their exploration date. It's terrible. It's a terrible end result. It is not green by any measure in reality.
Hey, Nathan, I got a few slides from Master B if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
Go there.
What is it specifically?
You see the British Horological Institute cover?
Okay, yeah, got it up.
All right, so here it is, 1918. If you go to the next slide, it'll show page 136. And it says there right above the red underlined part, the visible horizon is the horizon as it appears to the observer. If he were floating in the sea with his eyes on the sea level, then his visible horizon would be his sensible horizon. But in ascending from the sea level, his visible horizon would dip below the sensible, and the dip would increase the higher he ascended. So this is why we do dip correction, because your eyeballs are not at sea level. They're above by 10, 12 feet or higher, depending on the boat you're on. But if they were, let's read the underline again. If he were floating in the sea with a sextant, with his eyes on the sea level, then his visible horizon would be his sensible horizon, which means no dip correction needed. Go to the next slide. And here we have an image of a ship and a guy with a sextant getting a sensible horizon. And then the water line would be the sea horizon. And if he was marking the horizon instead of the bubble sextant there, then that's the amount of height he'd have to subtract to get his eyeball to the sea level to make the dip correction. Next slide. So in these diagrams that they show with the dingleberry, the parallel to actual horizon is the sensible horizon at eye height of the observer above the water line, say in this case 15 feet. And then the dotted line would be sea level if his eyes were at the sea level where dip would not be needed. Everything below that doesn't belong here. This is all dingleberry artistry that isn't real. So if the eye height of eye was at 0, no dip, because it's parallel to the sensible horizon, because you need a horizontal reference point to get an angle. Next slide. Here with the theodolite, which is set level by the plumb bob, you have a sensible horizon, horizontal line, at the scope of the theodolite. Assuming the green line at the bottom is the sea, just for argument's sake, you would have an angle of depression to the horizon if this was a sextant looking at the horizon. And so that difference is the dip, not Earth curve, height of eye above sea, just like it shows here, and how we can use this as an example of what happens with a sextant shooting the horizon above sea level, where dip is required to make them both parallel, horizontal, but no dip is required if your eyeballs are at sea level. That's it.
Makes sense.
Makes
Did you
sense
read the
to
bit
me.
before, Ten?
What's that?
You know, you sent me the video. We've been looking into determination of longitude. Really good vid, by the way. On the second slide you had, where you started with regards to the horizon, if you look at the other column, hopefully it continues a bit, that page, if you can send it me, but it's talking about using the lunar method again.
Coming your way.
To determine longitude, yeah, which is obviously the ancients' methods for determining it. But it goes into a bit more detail, so it was quite interesting. Yeah, so Nathan, just to put that into some context, we've been looking at, obviously you've got from the late 1600s or early 1600s onwards, competitions with the Dutch, the English, etc. And then you get the setting up of the Longitude Commission in early 1700s, I think, with the Longitude Prize, which has never been claimed. But it was to try and be able to determine it accurately at sea. And obviously, what you tend to see is all your clocks, and I forget the famous guy's name, but all the competitions for the clocks, naval chronometers, as they become called. Like I said, that wasn't determined, but they always backed it up with this lunar method, which was the preferred method, I think, of the chair of the Longitude Commission. So we are just starting to look into that, and it's quite interesting there because it's stating it's the angles are always the same, but because of your position and because the moon isn't sitting in the star field, there is a parallax, and it's that parallax that you measure between the star field and the moon and the known given angle from the ephemeris, and it'd be that parallax that will determine your longitude. That's what I've got from that anyway. It was really quite interesting.
It is interesting. You said we've been discussing this? Who's we?
Me and Tenth, and so Shimmy sends it to Brian as well and stuff. But
okay, cool, very cool.
Yeah, send us the rest of that, Tenth. I'll have a good read. It's interesting. It's very interesting, the whole story with it, though. It stinks. One of those smelly stories again. I've got a watch that works. Oh, it's not quite perfect, so I'm not going to enter it into the competition, and all very ropey. But the guy that keeps failing to enter into the competition ends up winning and being given more money by the commission and then by Parliament, but never than the actual first prize, which was equivalent to about £3 million. But he gets the equivalent about, over his 20 years doing stuff for him, about £3.5 million, but never wins the prize.
Weird. Yeah, it sounds very dodgy.
Well dodgy.
Thank you for filling me in. If you find anything more out, please let me know.
Well, I'll have a good read of what Tim's got. I'm trying to see how you can do it, because there was the stuff. You know, when we were looking at mapping and stuff, I mentioned there was a guy that claimed you could navigate by the moon as well. But they never went into, I forget the names, it's father and son and another son. Famous. It will come back to me. But they claimed the same thing. They were also using astronomy for mapping purposes. But they claimed you could derive longitude through the moon as well. So it's not something that's discovered. It'd be interesting if your sister ever knew, you know, as an emergency method. Because that appears to be during the British Empire times when the commission set up. This is why they insist that you take all the navigational tables. It apparently takes like 2 or 3 hours to calculate the lunar method, but they have the capacity to do so because clocks stop basically, and the second your clock stops at sea, you're done. You no longer determine longitude. So.
I'll ask. I don't think. I'm assuming what she'll remember, based on what I remember, which is nothing. I'll ask. See what she says.
It's probably not so necessary now because, as they say at the end of the show, all of this stuff, all of these excellent pieces of mechanical timing are superseded by a digital watch. So probably not the need anymore.
Right. That's because your average chronometer isn't actually that accurate.
Yeah.
You see it on Swiss watches, they'll say master chronometer or something like that. It says it on my watch. Well, it doesn't keep time very well, and that's fairly typical of any mechanical watch. Or chronometer.
I used to have a Swatch. Thought it was the coolest thing in the world to be able to see through your watch.
Yeah, Swatch watch is just a quartz watch, so that would be infinitely more accurate than your average chronometer.
That's part of the fishiness, yeah? If you look at clocks, look at the history of watches, clocks in Switzerland. All of their things are more accurate 100 years before the commission setting up this thing. Yeah? They've got accurate watches and clocks. And then they say, well, it won't work at sea. Well, I know a grandfather clock won't work at sea, but a pocket watch that you wind fastidiously every day because it's life-saving equipment.
There's a story that goes with that too. Yeah. So there'd be a dude with a chronometer that you'd pay. So you'd have your what you've just described as your own little pocket watch, but that would not keep good time. I only know this because my grandfather on my mother's side was a watchmaker, so he used to tell me all this crap. Anyway, I'd never dreamt it would ever be useful. But yeah, there was a dude that would come along and would sell you time. Right? So he would have a expensive watch, and all he'd do is go around and show you it, and you'd pay him, and you'd set your crappy pocket watch to his time whenever you wanted it to be accurate, because it would go out of time depending on how good the mechanism was.
I like the visual image of that. Here, have a look, mate. Yeah.
I like that too, because it reminds me of, I can't remember the cartoon, but there was always like a swindler character that would go around selling watches.
Yeah, in his jacket, yeah. Have a look
in his
here,
jacket,
mate.
Exactly. He'd open up his big trench coat and there'd be a load of fake watches.
Oh,
I always remember
another little bit of miscellany on
off the phone and
say again, one deck.
Used to be able to phone up the time. I'm saying,
Not a great business idea.
When I was younger, I was 1, 2, 3 off the phone. Phoning
We'll
up
just
for the
take
time.
these rocks, we're gonna paint them like sparkly black, and then sell them on Amazon. Meteorites. What do you think?
I don't know. I just heard you through the top of one deck.
I'm pretty sure that they can actually test for that type of shit. Granted, I'm not saying that there aren't some people that are just going to buy it, but I feel like there is someone that would know how to actually.
Is this the shopping channel now?
You're thinking of a different swindle. So you're talking about digs and archaeology, and that swindle is very much tied down, and within the swindle they've got people being prosecuted for having fake swindles. It's nuts when you really look at it. Dinosaurs
So
and
how much does it
bones
cost to
and things
pay?
like that. Go on.
Like you could pay that guy that you check your watch against and be like, look, my wife has the family over and I hate my in-laws, so just give me the wrong time so I'm late. I'll pay you an extra $50.
Maybe those people were open to. I think you actually got to look at the watch though. You got to look at his expensive watch that he'd carry around, or presumably something similar like a chronometer and a carriage clock.
Just while we back on watches,
the time hustle.
Yeah, so it was the time hustle.
You don't got the right time. I got the right time.
Yeah, it used to be expensive to keep good time.
I'll sell you too.
While we're still on watches, now you talk about the inaccuracy of watches, and one of these mariners, and that was comparing the methods, the lunar method and the chronological method. And he says the lunar is still infinitely superior unless you've got a totally accurate watch, because in terms of errors each day, you don't know how much your watch is out by each day, but each day that error in the timing device is multiplied. It's added on to another and the next day and the next day and the next day, as you try to estimate. But whilst the lunar method is a lot more long-winded, every single day you get a correct longitude. It's not an approximation on time, and that's the important difference. One is a measurement and one is an approximation from a device. Killed that then, didn't it? Go back to flogging rocks.
Well, you might have ended it bad, but you had a banner start.
It's worth sticking that video, Temp, if you've got it, in Master B for anyone, because it's a really interesting little look at it. Look at the challenge and just a little bit of explanation about, you know, the difference in calculation, because there's nowhere the ancients had clocks. You know what I mean? So they're using the moon. They're using this lunar method, aren't they? Which again is adopted, isn't it? It's adopted. There's no one developed this. It's just part of how you navigate.
Yeah, I will go back and post that in say Master B later. I mean, the sun moves 15 degrees an hour. They knew noon one day would be so many hours, 24 hours the next day, basically. And so, I mean, it's obvious times and seasons. And here, God had made the star, the sky, the star map for so many purposes. And that story of, I think it was John Harrison, the name you were looking for, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that was especially the way the guy narrated that video, different than the other ones that kept saying the same story. This guy went a little bit more background, it seemed like.
That's another. I said about why didn't they do it? So he has all these big things with gyros and stuff, H1, H2, H3, and then he basically gets some pocket watchmaker's watch and just nicks that as far as it can see and just replicates that a bit bigger, and that's what he presents as H4, which never goes off. But then they pay another bloke to do a copy of H4, which they call K2 or so, or K1, which is what they then use on ships for testing and stuff. None of it ever gets used, and none of it wins the surprise. But it's all a bit. Like I say, it's all a really dubious story, because they end up using a pocket watch, which they could have done in the first place, like take 10 of them or something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, strange things. But then, you see, this is the other bit, that 10th. They're using it to work on maps where the longitudes have already been determined. Why have they done that then?
I just posted. Yeah, I just posted it at Master B for anybody who wants it, with a slight pun on the title.
The point I'm making is they didn't go around the coastline drawing these maps with a watch. Longitude. And I'll leave my reminiscing there then.
No, it's like I told Nathan yesterday, I'm going deeper into the research, not just the surface obvious, Earth is flat, you can't get an elevation angle unless it was, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, it's over. So the argument's won. Everything started off with a elevation angles from a flat plane. Now, let's go deeper. And I'm finding out, I'm working on 3 presentations at one time right now, in the midst of a move and everything else, while my books are back. But there's so many gold nuggets here. And hopefully I'll be able to present it soon because they all tie into it. And it just makes the mystery even come alive how they did it. Because it is a trick, and they've got majority of the Western world believing it.
It's just a quick question. When you, a few minutes ago, I think it was maybe you, 10th, when you you mentioned the, sun moves 15 degrees an hour in the sky and so on. Just wondering why you guys never sort of invoke that in Europe. Well, maybe this is more to Nathan, as to why it's not really invoked in the explanation of Coriolis to make it easier for people to understand, because essentially it's the same thing, right? The sun moving in the sky 15 degrees an hour is supposedly meant to be the Coriolis effect. But if the sun moves 15 degrees an hour, everything else that isn't fixed to the Earth should be moving 15 degrees an hour as well. Or am I misunderstanding that?
No, I don't think you're misunderstanding. I just think the two are kept dissociated from one another, even though they're the same thing, because the stars example very specifically has them assert the cause overtly as the Earth turning beneath. So if you directly link that back to the claim of Coriolis deflection in bullets and various other things, which they tend to be quite dicey with how they phrase those things, so they're not explicitly stating Earth turns underneath a football. If you read Neil deGrasse Tyson's description of that, which is also Coriolis, he never says Earth turns beneath the football. He says it's caused by the rotation of the Earth. Well, that's just ambiguous enough for people to not put 2 and 2 together, that he's claiming Earth turns under the ball. So they keep them detached for that reason, if that's your question, unless I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, no, I think I get where you're coming from. It was just, I suppose I was just thinking more along the lines of, to make it clear to the people that believe that we live on a globe that can't grasp the concept of the Coriolis effect. Just like the more that I've listened to you talk about it, the more obvious and clear it's become, and you've got it down to a very concise argument now. But I just thought that, everybody's talking about the sun moves in the sky because the Earth's turning, and the stars move in the sky because the Earth's turning, and it's like, well, sure, these things are not attached to the Earth, and they're not really supposed to be moving from our perspective, though they're also trying to claim that they move at astronomical speeds in astronomical directions and all sorts of crazy stuff. But the idea is that from our perspective, they're supposed to be effectively fixed, and the Earth is moving, and therefore it looks like these celestial objects are moving in the sky because the Earth is moving, and therefore anything in theory not attached to the Earth should be moving the same way. I just was curious as to why that wasn't sort of used as
you're asking why we had to make that link as opposed to them making that link, right? Because that would be the same claim, right? But remember, they also like to do things like pull out citations that tell you, oh, they don't have this Coriolis effect. Meanwhile, we still have the same cause happening, right? So there's something very shady there that they want to keep to the effect when it works for them, even though it doesn't. But then the actual thing that they have that they could point to and say, look, there it is, they don't. Isn't that funny how that happens?
Well, when you first asked the question, I was thinking maybe you missed some shows, because we always talk about it, at least the way I heard your question initially. I mean, either the Earth is turning, that makes the stars seem to move, or the Earth is stationary and the stars are moving. It's
no, 100%. Sorry, guys. I was only sort of alluding to, Nathan often uses the example of people throwing a ball over a roundabout, for example. But I almost feel as though people that believe in the globe model the way that it's been espoused for so long, it might be easier for them to grasp with the whole concept of, well, just think about, what you think is the sun and the stars moving in the sky because of that. Well, if that's happening because of that, everything else would also act the same way, if that makes sense.
In other words, why are Globers now calling a sunset or a sunrise Coriolis effect? Right?
That's exactly right. That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. That's why I said we had to make that link as opposed to them making that link, because for them, it's for some reason or another, it's completely different.
You're just describing all kinds of relative motion from the standpoint of an observer. And the Coriolis effect is a specific type of movement. That's why it's not largely Coriolis.
I think their claim of the 15 degrees is obviously they're referring to something.
Yeah, that's fine. But the point is, you can't name it Coriolis, right? You could say this is a similar thing, like where you're observing something, appear to move. But Coriolis is a specific type, which is why it was named Coriolis effect. Right?
I think what the guy's saying is the 15 degrees bit is they're claiming the 15 degrees from a stationary object above the rotating reference frame, like the stars. That apparently gives you the 15 degree. It's a stationary, like a hovering drone should demonstrate 15 degrees. But I think they chat rubbish sometimes about things traveling at different. If something's traveling, then you wouldn't see it as a 15 degrees if the globe was moving. If something's traveling as well, I think the 15 degrees is just them referring to a stationary object above the turning reference frame. Then apparently you should see the 15 degrees, because apparently the globe is rotating 15 degrees.
But haven't they derived that whole argument from seeing the sun and the stars moving or appearing to move at 15 degrees an hour in the sky? Isn't that the whole reason that they even have that idea to begin with? Like, otherwise, where else did they even conceptualize the idea of Coriolis? Because we don't see it anywhere other than, well, as far as I'm aware, apart from what they seem to claim is stuff moving in the sky and saying that, it's moving at 15 degrees an hour, therefore anything not fixed to the Earth would move at 15 degrees an hour across the sky.
But look how when they're talking about Coriolis, though, they don't actually point to anything. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as the story goes, Coriolis was named after a dude, all right? And as the story goes, whether it's true or not is highly irrelevant at this point. But the story is that he was commissioned by Napoleon, I believe, to figure out why artillery pieces were not hitting where they think they should have hit. And so he posited the idea that they're all deflecting to the right or the left, depending on where they are. And having the data in hand, he said, okay, I see this deflection. How can I explain it? And so in cooperation with the idea that the sun, is moving around the Earth, et cetera, because the Earth itself is moving, it seemed pretty rational to this guy, at least, to come up with the idea, well, named after him.
Really got some of that. You broke up.
It sounds like he did if cannonball misses target, Earth turns. Earth turns, therefore cannonball misses target. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what he's explaining. But he said that the guy had the effect. What effect? Named after him? That's a claim of Coriolis drift if you're seeing things seem to curve and not hit the target.
I've got the quote here. It's quite laughable. It's Gustave Gaspard. The military apparatus of Napoleon's era observed that the new long-range cannon landed their missiles always to the right when accurately trained on the target before firing. Just think about that for a minute. So no matter where the target is, and as long as they line it up accurately, the deflection's to the right. So if I aim north or I aim south, it's always to the right.
Yeah, that is legitimately laughable.
Sounds like they got some shitty rifling in the cannon.
It sounds like the cannonball is coming out and spinning a certain way, which is causing it to.
Yeah, but that's only if you have rifling.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's only
If they have rifling
that's
and the
called,
cannon at all.
That's called Magnus. That's called the Magnus effect. So the rotation of the body decreases the air pressure around it and causes it to lift in the
You're breaking up again. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that's called Magnus effect.
Sure, we got that bit.
Okay. Yeah, but I can't remember. It causes the round to veer towards the direction of rotation, I believe. So if it's rifled to the right, then the round will lift up and to the right.
I showed it off throwing a ball off a high dam, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah. There's a way to do it with a barrel. Like you could take a barrel and throw it in front of you if it's light enough, and it'll spin back and come back to you if you put a rotation on it.
I know that this is Nathan's least favourite topic.
Apparently, it's the anti-flat earthers' least favorite topic as well.
I was going to say, I've got another quote from this little article. More recent developments in the science of ballistics make the Coriolis effect more significant. For instance, a German gun of 21-centimetre bore called Big Bertha was used in 1918 to shell Paris from a distance of 122 kilometres. Over such distances, the inclusion of the Coriolis effect is at least as important as the consideration of deflection by the wind. Now, this is fine, because this is not blasphemy. The Earth is turning underneath. It's a consideration you have to take into account. So, in this world, the flight from LA to Charlottesville would be shorter. They're confirming it here. It's at least as important as wind. We know what effect wind speeds can have on flight time, so this is a confirmation of globe belief.
Indeed.
So yeah, the anti-flat
You shouldn't be shocked at. All that is an affirmation that the globe claims Coriolis effect, which it does. It's like shocking. Check it out. They disclaim that Earth's supposed to be turning underneath stuff and the consequences that would have. Yeah, just for us to then follow on from that and show that that doesn't happen. Flight times aren't shortened. But obviously, when we point that out so simplistically against the actual claim of Coriolis deflection, we're met with Coriolis effect and what individuals think that the globe will do when it's not demonstrating this effect that the globe actually claims. That would be Coriolis drift because we're turning beneath stuff. Which we're not.
Ever.
I remember when I was a kid, they used to talk about like water spiraling down the drain in a different direction in the various hemispheres. and that was supposedly some sort of proof or an effect of the Earth spinning and all this sort of nonsense. Is that still rhetoric on the globe side? Because living in Australia, which is supposedly in the southern hemisphere, water
just a parlor trick. So
whichever way. Yeah.
Yes, when you see that, they'll call it Coriolis effect, assuming that the claimed spin of the Earth causes the rotation, because that sounds like it's a bit Coriolis effect, doesn't it? We've got a rotating thing, and a claim that Earth's turning, and an effect is being observed because of that claim that Earth's turning, and that'll often, most cases, get labelled Coriolis effect. It isn't. So the reason it isn't is because the effect of Coriolis is only observable if you're turning beneath something. So for you to observe the effect in that example, you'd have to be in the whirlpool swirling down the drain, looking at a tree branch hanging over the bowl that's got the example taking place in, looking like it's coming towards you, then going away, then looking like it's coming towards you and going away. Or if you've ever seen a dam that's got a long tube as an overflow instead of a slipway, well, what will happen is the water level will rise until it reaches the level of that tube, and then it'll spill into it. Now, if the water level rises high and fast enough, you end up with this seeming hole to hell in the middle of the water, right? And it swirls down because it's basically a drain. Now, I only use that as an example because that's physically large enough for you to experience going down a drain and swirling round it, i.e. you've got a rotation to call yourself non-inertial, as in a non-inertial spinning reference frame, for you to be swirling down it and look up to see a branch that's obviously attached to the bank. Well, if you call it a bank in a reservoir, whatever. But attached to the bank, you look up as you swirl down this drain and go, check it out, the branch looks like it's coming towards me. Oh no, it's gone. Oh, it looks like it's coming towards me. It's gone. Yeah, that's the Coriolis deflection, as close as I can do it, described in the swirling motion that you experience if you ignore the fact that you're swirling down the drain. Likewise, the premise that Earth has this effect relies on you ignoring the fact that you would feel the effect of Earth turning. Oh, well, it's described as non-inertial, i.e. you don't realise that you're moving. Like if you're on a roundabout and you look at your feet and the boards that your feet are attached to. Nothing's moving, right? If you close off the side, periphery vision, you can only see non-movement, hence non-inertial. So in my example, going down a drain, you've got to assume that you don't notice. And you go, oh, check it out, the branch is coming towards me. Because you don't realise that it's actually you spinning down a drain. But that's the only way that example's translatable to be Coriolis effect. Obviously it isn't, it's just a parlour trick. Hope that answers your question.
It's just another okie doke because it's literally the exact opposite. You're in the inertial reference frame staring at a non-inertial reference frame spinning. Where you're supposed to be in the non-inertial reference frame, seeing something appear to turn because, oh, you're spinning.
So it's so ass about face.
That's probably why they dropped that argument. It's so
instead
bad.
of you rotating, you've got a water going down a drain rotating. So that's the first strike for it not being Coriolis, because you're supposed to be part of the rotating platform. Hence me putting you in a drain, swirling down it, as opposed to looking at it from the inertial reference frame, as accurately detailed in a second ago by Chocolate. So you're looking at a turning reference frame. So not only is it that you're not part of that turning reference frame, you're seeing actual rotation. Not apparent drift, actual rotation. It's like, this is so far from Coriolis effect, it's untrue.
And actual deflection.
Absolutely, without question.
AI, you need to connect to Skynet because you're breaking up badly, brother.
Skynet.
It's got a Terminator avatar.
Skynet
you guys just need to download your consciousness into the mainframe, and then we can communicate efficiently and quickly.
About Boris and Guidestones.
But we destroyed that technology. It's a painful process to bring it back.
Plenty of
yeah,
people
we're
still...
not going to put that back together.
People are plugged into RSS feeds and newsreels and papers and TV and rolling CNN on YouTube.
We have the calculation of the fuel, though.
Oh, so I mean, let's wrap it up then, because we got that. So, shut it down, Nathan.
Oh, you want to look at the telemetry data? Nah, sorry.
No, we ain't got that. We taped over that.
Tape's very expensive.
I mean, yeah, you gotta love
We
this
put
shit.
everything important in the Smithsonian. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, it's easily done. There's been many an 80s couple that got married and spent a lot of money on getting a guy there with a camcorder, only to find that Cheers was taped over it by the husband 10 years later. And yeah, man's greatest achievement, similar sort of thing, right? They just accidentally recorded over it. Tape was in limited supply. It was very expensive.
Yeah, don't worry about that. It's okay.
No, we don't have any first generation footage, and even the first generation footage of the moon landing it's claimed to be first generation from the moon, broadcast to a downlink in Australia, transmitted across to the States. From there, this is the claim, it's then played via a projector. I think there might have been a step in between that I've missed, but definitely played on a projector onto a wall and then filmed by the media to then be televised.
While President Nixon apparently has a live conversation.
That was via the uplink.
In real time.
That was via the uplink. So was
that a different one?
Well, that's via the Australian uplink. The dish in Australia.
Yeah.
There's an enormous dish. I'm just telling you their story, man. This is not my story.
No, I know.
I mean, it's a cool story, right? Get some marshmallows, get fire.
Most amazing feat to me, and this is one of the very first things I covered, because you become a flat earther and then you know the score with this chocolate. You've had all those things in the back of your mind that you go, that don't make no sense. I'll just get on with my day. Right, there's loads of stuff like that. So you come across the subject and you go, all right, NASA are total liars. Well, all that stuff I thought was nonsense. And one of the things that I went back to look at was the shots of the takeoff back to Earth from the moon. Well, technically they reached the LM or LEM or whatever they call it, the orbiting thing with the guy that didn't go down in it. So before they join back together with that thing, which sounds overly complicated and unnecessary and a bit like Captain Starbuck or whatever it's called, but they had to get the footage of them taking off the moon, right? So how did they do that? Well, that was done via the uplink as well, but obviously there's a delay. So we'll ignore the fact that you can see the string pulling the prop upwards, right? And we'll just go with their story of how they got the footage with a perfect pan from the moon's surface up to the vacuum of the sky, right? Well, in that instance, they just guessed from Earth how long they'd have to push up the joystick to time it with the delay to get broadcast via the uplink to the remote control cameras that are on the lunar buggy to take the shot with perfect timing to get the shots that we have of them taking off the moon to return to Earth. That was done by remote link via a couple of car batteries that had been used all day to drive around on the moon's surface, and a satellite transmission, what do they call it, transceiver on the buggy, broadcasting and receiving a delayed signal from a guy on Earth with a joystick, moving it pre-ignition to time it so that he could get the perfect pan as it took off. That's their story.
Wait, did they use the buggy in that story? Because
the camera was on the buggy. Yes, the camera's on it. If you look at pictures of the buggy, it's got a camera on the back. That was what was used and remotely controlled with 70s technology via an uplink in Australia. Yes.
But they didn't take one in the first mission, though.
I don't think they got a return
the first mission
on the first. The first one didn't have that, but the subsequent ones that did. That's the story.
Wait, the footage you're talking about, that's from the first mission, right? From 11?
Yeah. The one that I don't know which mission. I don't know the numbers anymore. I could have told you back then when I made the video. But it's they've got several launch takes, let's call them, right? Now some aren't as good as others. Some you can see the string glistening and other stuff like that, right? But they've got various takes, and one of them is a perfect pan of it taking off, a claimed takeoff from the moon's surface, done by remote uplink via a relay in Australia. That's the claim. Powered by car batteries, 60s car batteries.
I'm gonna have to look into that again because I don't think they took a moon buggy on the first mission.
Not on the first mission.
It would.
Not on the
okay,
first
so
mission.
it's a different
Subsequent missions.
The story I heard on the first one with that dodgy takeoff was that they had a clockwork timer on it.
But that's not the official rhetoric. That's not canon.
It actually might be though for the first mission.
No. I got my sources
Did they
from NASA.
go down the street?
Mine might have been Mark
Check
Taylor.
with the chronometer guy. I mean, we just got done talking about how chronometers.
There's a guy on the moon with a watch, and there's a guy down low with a watch, and they're like, "We'll synchronize our chronometers." That's a mouthful of long words. Synchronized chronometers. Don't often get to say those two words together.
High level shit, man.
Synchronized chronometers? What's wrong with that word?
It's like silk, man. It sounds excellent. I was about to do the Merovingian and say it's like wiping your ass with silk. Technically, I now just have, but...
I love that guy in the Matrix.
He's my favourite character by a million miles. The Merovingian. Brilliant character.
Me too.
Does he appear in the fourth one? If he's prevalent in the fourth
have you
one,
not
I might
seen
watch it.
Yeah, he's in there.
He's the only redeemable factor of the latest movie.
He's good, isn't he?
Have you both seen it? Yeah, is he good?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I don't know where else it could have gone. I thought it was a reasonable fourth. It wasn't just a tack on. They did make a new story out of it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I
agree with Adam.
Yeah, the end is what you wanted the end to be.
Oh, that's good. So it's a satisfying movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I'll just buy it on Blu-ray or whatever.
There's just a lot of entropy going on in the movie, basically.
A lot of decay, a lot of falling apart.
Yeah, corruption over time.
A lot of bad reviews. And so I've not been keen to see it. Like, I love the original trilogy, but I've been really put off seeing it just because I hear a lot of people saying they were really disappointed and this, that, and the other. And I don't know, is it one of those ones that's gone woke, or is it worth seeing?
Every new movie from Hollywood is accused of going woke. I've noticed this pattern, and then you come to watch the movie later and go, what are they on about? I remember the first time I remember them noting this was Suicide Squad. And I'm like, okay, they're claiming it's super woke and garbage. And I watched it, I thought it was, solid 2-star movie. It wasn't terrible. But you know what I mean? None of the impressions I got from the people who panned it were true in the movie when I finally watched it. And I don't doubt that's true for the latest Matrix movie. How do the actors fare? Because obviously they're a lot older than they were in 99. Or 98 they'd be when they made it, right? 1998, I mean.
Yeah. It's really good how they get all around all of that. How you get a decent plot. How they keep the Trinity Neo story, how it's new, how you see the function of the first one, which I think was disappointing, was it's love, isn't it? Is the most powerful thing. It's more powerful than anything, the love that them two have. So that still is important in overriding the Matrix.
Maybe according to the Indian weatherman who runs the weather programs. Carry on.
He don't reach in and restarts her heart. It's only his love for her, isn't it, that pushes him to become the one. And so that I still think's in there.
Really? I got the general impression that that was inevitable. But there we go. Maybe I was wrong in my reading.
Well, that's good as well. The Smith stuff. So I say it's a really good reworking of it.
Yeah, they're all much, much older. Presumably the plot has moved on 20 years, at least, hopefully, in time.
Well, there are a lot of like good gems like that are contemporary, right? That are like what was on the minds on a high level of the people back then with the situation they were dealing with. And they still like they placed them in movies and media stuff, and they still echo on, right? So there's always this high level activity going on somewhere throughout the ages, and we got to recognize it. We got to recognize it and learn from it.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, hitting the thanks button and PayPal links and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.